glasses.
Welcome to Headlocks, Heels, and Havoc, the wildest tag team in podcasting where the kayfabe drops and the chaos takes over. Let's ring the damn bell.
Headlock fight, heels on the prowl, dropping elbows, hearing ground, feel the foul. No script here, just real, no bluff. Kayfabe crack, now the dirt gets rough. Headlocks, heels, havoc in the zone. Stepping in the ring, chaos at your home. No filters, no mask, just raw pants on. Wrestling unscripted, we on the throne. Title bells, mic checks, crowd going crazy. Drop truth bombs, leaving lines feeling hazy. Beyond the kayfabe, past the charade, where legends are born and stories get made. Headlocks poppin', who's hitting the mat? Welcome to the havoc where the real talk's at. Tune in, step through, leave the fake at the door. Headlocks, heels, havoc, now hear the roar.
Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. I am one half of the greatest tag team in podcasting. It's at LEGEND. And with me, as always, is everybody's favorite uncle and my tag team partner, Uncle Slam.
What's up, family, and welcome to the People's Podcast.
Tonight is the night we have all been waiting for. After weeks of unforgettable debates, controversial decisions, shocking eliminations, and passionate arguments, we have finally reached the finals of the greatest world heavyweight champion of all time tournament. And we couldn't ask for a better panel of wrestling minds to help us crown the greatest champion to ever lace up a pair of boots. Joining us tonight is Professor Bear from the Wrestling Society Network, a true wrestling historian whose knowledge is second to none.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Glad to be on.
We also welcome legendary professional wrestler, the Mad Taylor Zodiac, a man who has lived the business and knows what it takes to wear championship gold. And next up is Brock's Boulder, one half of Grappling Inc. and representing Aftermath Pro Wrestling, a hard-hitting competitor who has stepped into the ring against some of the best and earned the respect of the fans and peers alike.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate being here.
Always. Joining us here in a little bit is going to be the head of Mayhem Media, the bad guy JD. He'll be bringing his wealth of knowledge of the wrestling world. And, of course, we have got the Kentucky Wrestling Federation ring announcer, the Wrestling Encyclopedia, Sean Johns.
That is I. Hello. Welcome, everybody.
Welcome, buddy. And the walking one-liner, Tucker.
Yo.
Tucker.
Yo. All right, ladies and gentlemen, buckle up because tonight we are going to settle the debate once and for all, crown the greatest world heavyweight champion of all time. So grab your favorite beverage, jump into the chat, let your voice be heard, like, share, follow, and subscribe. And as we always say here at Headlocks, Heels, and Havoc, let's ring the damn bell. Guys,
Ding.
That's right, ding, ding, ding. I need to start ringing the bell right there, Uncle Slam.
Hey, that's a good idea.
It really is. But yeah, guys, we appreciate everybody being here, man, to settle this debate. We started this journey about a month ago, and I know y'all weren't involved in everything, but I can put up the tournament and everything and give y'all a second. We'll start with Professor Bear because he's been in a few of the shows, so he knows a little bit more about what's going on with it. So, as a matter of fact, I will start with Professor Bear. Professor Bear, is there anything about this tournament that you think you would have changed or, modified in a little bit of a different way?
No, not really. I think it was a good layout. Now, of course, you have arguments of who should have been in, who shouldn't have been, but I think it's been good. And the main thing that people need to take away from this, it's opinions. Everybody has opinion. Just because you don't agree with one of our opinions or maybe all of our opinions doesn't mean we're wrong, doesn't mean you're right. It's just an opinion. Calm the hell down.
Exactly.
It ain't that important. Mr. Zodiac, since I haven't asked you this question, and I asked pretty much everybody at the start of this, what do you think it takes to be a true world champion? You know, the guy that, do you think it takes the brashness of a Stone Cold, the flair of a Ric Flair, the patriotic stuff of Hulk Hogan, you know, the Nick Bockwinkel? You know, what do you think really exudes world champion to you?
Three things: versatility, marketability, and work ethic. If you ain't got those three things, you're more than likely not going to be a good champion. You got to be able to work with anybody any given night. You got to be able to handle the schedule. You got to be marketable to sell tickets. If you can't do that, you ain't gonna last very long.
Makes sense. Brox Boulder, same question.
Zodi hit it right on the head, man. If fans don't want to pay in to get to see you, then there's no reason to put a belt on. So we don't hurt, honestly. You gotta give them something they want to show up to. Have them emotionally involved. If you can't feel the emotion of the fans for some reason, you walk through the
Makes sense. So, Tucker, is there anything you've seen about this tournament that you would have changed? Any competitors? Would you have switched a wrestler out?
I'm not objectively speaking. Like, if I'm speaking for myself, then yeah, I kind of made my opinion known where I'm going to end up with all this from the very beginning when we were just in the waiting room. But I mean, like, I think there's arguments to be made about every single person in the bracket. The person that I would choose to be the greatest of all time, I would argue isn't and never was. And it's a fun topic to debate.
That's it.
And so I'm cool with exactly how I played. I'm glad that I wasn't there, for the. I'm glad that I'm here for the finals because it feels more fresh and vibrant to be. To know that it's not just a handful of my favorite picks that I would choose in the finals, people that I genuinely don't like, and now have to look at and go. Or not that I don't like, just people that I genuinely would not place there myself, but now have to look at and then make the argument for. So yeah, I think it's great. Like I said, I'm glad I'm here for the finals and wasn't here for the rest because it seems challenging, and you got to open your mind to some other great talent who may not be your favorite. Because like the other two said, if you hit those three things, then you're championship material.
Wrestling Encyclopedia, what you got for us? Same question.
Yeah. What I think makes a true world champion is you should be required as world heavyweight champion to go a 60-minute Broadway every night, twice on Saturday, twice on Sunday, should it be required that you do so. Unfortunately, the way society is now, you barely see a 6-minute, let alone a 60-minute match. So I choose, that makes, in my mind, a great world champion. That's why I'm more lean towards the old school world champions that would go those 60-minute Iron Man Broadway, because it's tough to keep people's attention span for 60 minutes.
It really is.
Tell me you were born in the 70s without telling me you were born in the 70s.
I was born in 1980, sir.
Oh, my bad.
Uncle Slam, is there anything about this tournament you would have changed before we get into the meat and potatoes of it?
Yes. The biggest thing that I would change would have probably been the ECW one. I would have probably not made Raven the champ. I would have put Shane Douglas in his place instead. Obviously, it didn't work out that way. I think he's probably a better champ, or I think he would have been better for this tournament than Raven. I feel like Raven's probably going to fall out pretty quick. Now, like most of the other ones, they're pretty close. Like I didn't have any issues with a lot of the other ones now that I'm looking over, but that's probably the only thing that, like I said, I mean, there's some that could have went either way, like AJ Styles and Kurt Angle could have went either way and shit. You know what I'm saying? Bruiser Brody and Kerry Von Erich could have went either way. But for the most part, the only one I would really change probably would have been the ECW with Raven.
It was very hard filling this bracket up because, like I said, I set that standard of, I instead, because I didn't do it the way we traditionally do it. I just put all the picks in. I didn't do it my favorite picks because, as you see, Shawn Michaels is not anywhere in this to be found. But
I was looking at that like, wait a minute, there's somebody missing.
Yeah, Sean is definitely missing out of this, but the standard I set was most titles and the most days as champion for
His
each
injury took
company.
him out quite a bit.
Yes, and because he would have been probably at least 7-time champion had he got them 4 years back, he could have had 2 or 3 little small runs in between there.
Yeah.
But anyways, I digress. He's not in here. But yeah, so it's just sticking to that. It was hard filling this up. But we are down to the nitty gritty. Like I said, the meat and potatoes. And this is the final 4 beginning matchup is Hogan Bockwinkel, Raven MJF, AJ Styles, and Kerry Von Erich, the Texas Tornado, as a lot of people will know him. The Nature Boy Ric Flair, if you don't know who he is, you probably shouldn't just be watching wrestling. Sting, if you don't, same. There's a lot of these people, if you don't know who they are, I don't know what you're doing here, but no, I just like it.
This Hogan character, I'm not sure. I'm not familiar.
Who?
This Hogan guy you're talking
this
about?
Hogan guy? Yeah, he.
See your
well,
or something?
He's
went
Professor Bear.
by-
He's Professor Bear's favorite wrestler.
I
That's
think
what
it's
it is.
like weird or something.
Brother.
It's a reality show. It's weird.
It's Horace Hogan.
Let me
he
tell you,
also,
brother.
he also-
Come down on you. What are you gonna do?
he also went by another name. You may know him as Thunderlips, the Ultimate Male.
Got you. Got you.
All righty.
That
We're
was
going to
needlessly
start
simple.
this off. Let's see. Well, I guess we'll just start it off in the top left and just go by order. We'll go Hulk Hogan versus Nick Bockwinkel. And so it ain't so hard to keep up with. We're just going to go around the horn every time, and we will start, wrong thing. We will start with Professor Bear.
So, as it's been stated, I am not a Hulk Hogan fan.
What?
Never liked him, never will. Now, just because I don't like someone doesn't mean I don't respect him and acknowledge everything he's done in the wrestling business and him having so many different championship reigns. With that being said, we are blessed to have history to look at this match. Hogan and Bockwinkel met several different times.
Yep.
And several different times, Hogan could not get the win on Bockwinkel. He finally got a win. And 2 days later, they reversed it. Now, for being the greatest champion, I'm looking at everything from no matter what promotion they were in. I look at the whole entire work. And for me, there's no way on God's green earth could Hogan defeat Bockwinkel head to head. Bockwinkel was the prototype, if you will, of the Nature Boy Ric Flair. They have so many different similarities in their wrestling styles, the way they talk, their dress, their mannerism. For those who don't know the history of Nick Bockwinkel, he was one of 3 champions in the AWA that when you said world heavyweight champion of AWA, immediately you thought of him. do yourself a favor and go look at some Nick Bockwinkel matches and learn where a lot of these guys and girls get their wrestling style from. And one other thing that is critical to this, the reason why Hogan could not beat him, his manager, Bobby Brain Heenan. So with that being said, I'm giving it to Nick.
Alrighty. Before we move on to Zodi real quick, sorry Zodi, just want to welcome JD to the show. He is joining us by his phone until he gets to his house. I told you he'd be here a little bit later. But welcome JD, we'll get to you in just a second. We just started with Hogan and Nick Bockwinkel. So I'll let you think about it for a second while Zodi answers. Go ahead, Zodi.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
They're all good. That's an interesting one right there because you've got a clash of styles and kind of a, I don't say clash of eras. You know, Bockwinkel was a little bit later era than Hogan was, but I'm a big Nick Bockwinkel fan. His whole stuff with Kurt Hennig and all that was great. I liked all of Bockwinkel's stuff. He's who I model some of my stuff after. You know, like Bockwinkel, Regal, Jake Roberts, guys like that. And I like a lot of the older AWA guys. That said, though, and I know like they've met before and the outcomes of the matches and everything else. As far as an actual in-ring wrestler, like the wrestler, it's hard to touch Nick Bockwinkel. As far as influence and performer and just that overall influence on wrestling and everything else and world traveled and world influence, it's hard to touch Hogan because he brought wrestling into that whole different era and mainstream media stuff outside of the wrestling world. So that's a tough one right there. Like, my heart wants to go Nick Bockwinkel. My mind, however, goes Hulk Hogan because it's like, it's hard to touch that. So I got to go with Hogan on that one as far as if we're going to pick a champion who was top of that echelon right there. And it's hard to really care. It's hard for me to compare them because they're two different times, you know. Like Nick Bockwinkel in his time, I think had just as much influence as Hogan, but I don't think he had as much influence globally. And I don't think anybody really has up until like, you know, say the John Cena Stone Cold era. So I got to go with Hogan on that one, unfortunately. And it breaks my heart because like I love Nick Bockwinkel and everything Bear said. I'm like, yep. As far as on the mat, Bockwinkel would wipe the mat with Hulk Hogan. As far as champion, though, and influence, I got to go with Hogan.
Alrighty, we got a tie, 1-1 Hogan. JD, who you got, buddy? Hulk Hogan, Nick Bockwinkel.
Well, I am definitely not the biggest Hogan fan, and even the short time I've been sitting here, I've been listening to everybody to try and see if I can find a reason to not vote for Hogan. So, and Professor Bear made a great case for Bockwinkel. So I feel completely comfortable in casting a vote for Nick Bockwinkel. So that's what I'm going to do because I can't in good conscience cast one for Hogan. I know he had the global thing. I know that he brought a lot of people into wrestling, but I think about some of the people that he never decided to put over that could have been just as big as stars as him if he would have done what every single wrestler is supposed to do in wrestling, and that's eventually put over the next guy. And Hogan never put over the next guy. So I'm not going to vote for Hogan. I will vote for Bockwinkel.
All righty, 2 for Bockwinkel. We will just shoot on around, Uncle Slam.
This is definitely like a little bit tougher than I thought it was going to be, especially hearing some of these arguments. I didn't know much about Bockwinkel except for from research or whatever. Obviously, like Hogan was my childhood, so I always did like Hogan. But then later on, of course, I found out Terry was a different person. But I'm going to keep my feelings out of this and just go straight by wrestling. And if I'm just doing that, then I got to go with Hogan on this. His impact, his influence, if it wasn't for him, I don't think wrestling would have been where it is today, because he's the one that kind of took it to the new heights or whatever. And I totally agree with what everybody says. Now, if we're just doing wrestling, we all know Hogan cannot wrestle worth shit. I mean, that is like nobody's ever going to argue that Hogan is a Bret Hart or a Chris Benoit or a Regal or anything like that. That's not what he is. That's never what he was supposed to be. He was supposed to be a big, strong guy, a superhero. Have a couple of moves, get hit a couple times, Hulk up. So yeah, I got to give it to Hogan on this one.
It's 2-2. Mr. Boulder.
Man, I want to first say, who the hell put Hogan over on Stone Cold in round 1? I am so disappointed in everyone.
So you would have been in the company of Aaron Rose, because his whole tournament got shattered last week because of that.
It was hard though. I mean, that's a tough matchup.
I would say it is.
I looked at it and said, who put him over on Cena? Because my opinion, Cena's the greatest champion they've ever had. I'm sorry. Like
Cena,
Yeah.
he should never made it to Cena, but I agree with you, Zodi. I say so. Zodi said those 3 things in the beginning of what makes a great champion, and all the points have been made. Hogan, short of Cena and Stone Cold, like Zodi said, probably the most marketable global superstar there was. But from a worker's perspective, it's not Hogan. Knowing what goes into learning the ins and outs of the ropes, inside the ropes, and not just making a career out of one leg drop or no selling people's shit. That drives me crazy. Sorry. It worked. It worked, guys. It worked. It worked. It is what it is. And I'm trained old school, and I don't like flippy crap. So both these guys are right up my alley, but it's not Hogan for me, not at all. It's not Hogan, and it's not because I have a hatred for Hogan, because I don't. It's just I'm taking it on pure emotion on the worker side of me, not so much the fan side of me. Because as a worker, I want to see, as someone who books shows and someone who spends time in locker rooms with greats like Zodi and the ones I get to spend a little bit of time in the locker room with, those are the people you want to see across the locker room from you, are the guys that can get in and actually go and work. And to point out a point earlier, someone said that 60-minute Ironman matches are what makes great world champions. Respectfully, I would say I've seen Zodi do matches in 4 minutes that told better stories than I've seen in 60. Just throwing that out there. So, and again, it's my opinion. Just don't shoot the messenger. Just my opinion. So, I don't think Hogan could do that, and that's what I look for. So for me, it's not. It's no, not Hogan.
Another Buffwinkle.
Tucker.
So, going over, and obviously, I'm, my favorite Shawn Michaels too. So when it comes to performance and the ability to tell a story, I like an in-depth story, but that's not what the masses always like, because, you could argue that Hogan did and Cena too did in 5 or 6 moves, told an in-depth story that Shawn Michaels told with, the greatest of all time in a 60-minute Ironman match. And both stories are compelling and have their fan base. I think whenever it comes to, and I'm trying to speak objectively, not as a worker, not as a wrestler, not even as a fan, as any, just objectively speaking, no one can take away from Hogan what Hogan was. And, I know Zodi and Brox, you said the thing about the 3 things that make a champion. I think, the greatest champions did one of 3 things. They either led, they followed, or they got out of the way. And, with Hogan, he was a leader. He set the pace. He set something new. With Brock Lesnar, he was a follower. Brock Lesnar, I would argue to the day I die that his second run in WWE was his best, and it wouldn't be what it was if it wasn't for Paul Heyman. He fell in line with somebody who knew how to market Brock Lesnar. And then you got the people, you know, who are arguably great champions who didn't really have the run they needed, but they got out of the way and let somebody else. They put somebody, they were there as a placeholder and was a great champion for. I would almost argue that Edge was that for Cena. You know, Edge did not have nearly the time with the belt that Cena did, but he held it, and then he put Cena over, and that's one of the greatest rivalries of all time, in my opinion. So when it comes to these two, there's just not a comparison. Nobody will ever be Hogan. You know, talking about Hogan, I don't like that Hogan beat out Austin last round either. But, you know, it's like what John Lennon said. If there was no Elvis, there would have been no Beatles. If there had been no Hogan, there would not have been a Stone Cold. And I regardless of his character and anything, I have to give it to Hogan. Like, Hogan is we're having this conversation because Hogan did what Hogan did. You know, you walk up to somebody on the street and you say, "Hey, who is Hulk Hogan?" Everyone's gonna know. You know, and that's just how it is. And so regardless of how well he worked or how great of a champion was, I'm not a Hogan fan either. And when it comes to that, but if we're talking about greatness of champions, yeah, last round I would have voted Stone Cold. But in this round, when you got this niche little, you know, AWA champion, like, I'm kind of surprised that he won out versus Hogan. Yeah, I mean, Hogan takes it, in my opinion. He just, you know, he was a trailblazer. He didn't do anything special. He didn't do anything great. He just did it different, and it worked at that time. And so, you know, like anybody who says that Hogan, if Undertaker puts Hogan on the Mount Rushmore, then I don't think any of us can argue.
Very true.
3-3, Hogan, Bockwinkel, Wrestling Encyclopedia. Who do you got?
All righty. Well, I'm going to expand on how somebody says Hogan wasn't a great mat wrestler. You need to look at the man's work in Japan.
I was getting ready to say that. I was hoping you would say it first because I kind of thought you. I seen the wheels turn. I was like, he already going to touch on it. He already knows.
Yeah, he did
Japan. And
he had a match with the great Muta, and he was doing doing mat wrestling moves that you never see somebody big like him. And then he hit Enziguri, which at that time was a very seldom move by him.
Uncle Slam did not believe me that Hogan did an Enziguri.
Hogan did a lot of stuff.
I didn't believe it. I saw the video.
I've seen him in Japan or whatever, but that wasn't what he was, made to do in the WWE. That's not what they wanted before.
Vince found a formula and used the formula.
Then he wasn't a great mat wrestler. However, he and Bockwinkel may not have been a flashy wrestler, but he could do a hold in his promo style. He never had to yell, never had to do a lot of things. You could ask Nick Bockwinkel, "Hey, what time is it?" He'll spend 2 hours telling you how to build a watch. Especially when he had Bobby Heenan, Nick Bockwinkel, Ray Stevens. That tag team alone in the AWA was tremendous. And then Nick Bockwinkel as WC year and a half or whatever. Not a lot of people remember that. I didn't know he was a wrestler when I started watching it. Then I started studying my history. But Hogan and Bockwinkel and Hogan put on some great matches in the AWA. And you had mentioned that Hogan had beat Bockwinkel and then it was reversed. That happened actually twice.
Yep.
The first time Bockwinkel fell over the top rope and Hogan got accused of throwing him over the top rope, which was at the time illegal to do.
Disqualification.
Now I'm not even getting into that, but
my vote still a rule sometimes.
Right? Yeah, because there's ways to get around that, and it tells a great story there, Zodi. So we all know what Hogan's done in the business. I'm not going to talk about Terry because that's been driven into the ground. Terry Bollea, but I'm talking about Hulk Hogan, the wrestler. You know, not a lot of people know about wrestling because of, if it wasn't for Hogan and the Vince McMahon machine behind him in the 80s, the Rock and Wrestling Connection, we wouldn't know. So as much as I love Nick Bockwinkel as a actual wrestler, I've got to give my vote to Hulk Hogan. And I feel bad saying it because I am wearing a Macho Man t-shirt. Nothing Savage hated Hogan till the day he died. I've heard other people say they made up, but the person I heard say that was Hogan. So, yeah, we'll just leave it.
You know, Metallica's still missing their bassist.
Yeah.
But yeah, oh well. I mean, like, I'm not voting in this, guys. I'm just hosting this. So, I mean, Hogan wins out. You guys are deciding this. I have nothing to do with this. Hogan wins out in the first round against Nick Bockwinkel. What I do want to bring up something though is somebody said something about the Brox. It was you who was talking about you've seen Zodiac doing 4 minutes what somebody else did in an hour. I think that is, to me, that's part of the mark of a great champion, is that they can do both. They can go out there and lose a title off of being, you know, the match got started too quick, ding, 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 they weren't ready, quick roll up, 1, 2, 3, boom, we're out of there, you know, they lost their title. You know, you can always come back from that next week or whatever, you know, blah, blah, blah. But you can also go in there and wrestle somebody for 60 minutes too. I think that makes the mark of, I think it's just the time and the place. Both of those things are prevalent if you use them right. You know what I'm saying? And that's the beauty of wrestling to me and everything. And I think that's the beauty of what somebody like Nick Bockwinkel could do. To me, Nick Bockwinkel was Flair before Flair, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think, you know, he was kind of like, I think Flair kind of looked at him a little bit and said, I could do that, and then just boom, bump it up a whole lot, you know, type thing.
And another known fact, I don't know if you know this, Professor Bear, or the rest of you guys, Hogan was actually the very first ever IWGP heavyweight champion.
Yes, I did know that.
Beat Antonio Inoki by countout in the tournament final.
Sure did.
But still, you know, not a lot of people give Hogan that much credit.
What was you saying?
That was unheard of in Japan at the time, too, to beat Inoki in any fashion.
Yes.
True.
That was when he was using the Axe Bomber over there, and he was like the big American guy because he was wrestling Tenryu, he was wrestling Muda, he was wrestling Hansen.
Yeah.
If you go watch those matches, you got to understand, too, he was trained by Hiro Matsuda.
That's
so,
it.
like, he was very well trained and versed in wrestling. Even his old AWA and stuff like that. He wrestled. But over here, people didn't want to see a guy like that wrestle. They just wanted to see the big guy.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go watch his stuff in Japan, his match with Muda and stuff is like 30 minutes long.
Well, and here was
his match with Inoki and Tenryu.
Right, and this is my argument to that, is if you can go out there and let somebody put a chin lock or a nerve hold on you for 10 minutes in a match and, you know, take a couple body slams, you know, and most of your work is done, you laying on the mat, you know, being hurt, and then all of a sudden at the end of the match, you get to jump up and hulk up, you know, and go off and do 3 more moves and the match is over.
Mm-hmm.
If you could go and do that every night and make $1 million every night, would you do it?
Oh yeah.
See, so you can't. That's what I'm saying. There's the art in both of it. You know what I'm saying? He found his formula. You know,
and that's what I was gonna bring up. And again, I hate saying this because how much I despise. And my thing for Hogan has nothing to do with the man Terry Bollea. ever since I was a kid, I never liked Hulk Hogan because I was brought up in the NWA where
That's right.
wrestling mattered.
Yep.
And but I would say this for Hogan. Hogan knew the sport. He knew it inside and out. And I'm not mad at him for politicking his way, for being smart enough to move a certain way. I really am not. I know anybody who has the opportunity to do something and you have to do what you have to do to get there. That's perfectly fine. I guess from my perspective is what, and this is for all of us, it's what makes a world champion.
Right.
What is that criteria? Hogan is by far, arguably, the number one wrestler in the world, known by everyone. And if it wasn't for Hogan in the 80s, we wouldn't be here today doing what we're doing and how we're doing it. But
True.
We talked about what makes a great world champion to us. To me, if you can't wrestle, then I don't care how much you talk. I don't care how much you sell merchandise. I don't care how much you can bullshit fans. If you can't wrestle on a consistent basis, you're not a world champion. You're a placeholder for me. Because as much as Jey Uso got a title run, the only reason, and no disrespect to him as a person, but the only damn reason he got over for Yeet.
Yeah.
Very good.
You got
Well-
Hogan and Bockwinkel.
Yep. So, well, guys, Hogan moves
Ask
on
her
to
what
the
she
next
thinks.
one.
Who you got,
Who?
Hogan or Bockwinkel?
Oh,
Bockwinkel. Okay. All right.
Bachman, hey, it's tied up, y'all. I
You
guess
tell
I
us
do
my
got to
kid.
vote.
You can tell
I
us-
guess I do got to vote, man.
you can tell us my kid right there. Bockwinkel.
That was great. That was great. That's a soundbite right there. With your permission, that is a soundbite. Hello.
Oh, get your tablet. Say
Is
bye-bye.
that your youngest, Zodi?
Huh?
That's your youngest?
Yeah, that's my little one. That's my daughter. Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you. Oh, good to hear yours.
That's awesome.
Oh, thank you.
That is awesome.
That's
I love
Mama
it.
Bear, my little baby. So,
That's just, I got one myself.
oh, we got 4 in the house. So,
I know
Good
that
Lord.
feeling too. I know that feeling too. Alrighty, guys. Next up, we have Raven and MJF. This is not a hardcore match. This is just a straight up match. There's no hardcore rules, no ECW rules. It's just a straight up match. Raven versus MJF. We will once again start with Professor Bear and go around the horn.
So this is it is funny to me because this matchup is kind of similar to the Hogan and Bockwinkel thing, where most people think Raven couldn't wrestle. Raven is one hell of a wrestler. It's just the Raven gimmick got over bigger than the wrestler Raven or Scotty Flamingo or Tony Polo or other many the other things that he portrayed.
I'm gonna plug Scott Levy. Go watch Tubi.
Yeah.
There's a Raven documentary on there. Really good. It's called Nevermore: The Raven Effect.
it's really good.
yeah.
So I will make this quick and simple. With that being said, MJF would destroy Raven on the mic, in the ring, merchandise, heat. You throw it up, MJF would, as he said, he is better than Raven, and we all know it.
Hey, that's one for MJF. Mr. Zodiac, who you got? MJF or Raven?
I hate to say it, but it's not a hard one, really. I was surprised Raven made it this far in the thing, but looking at who he's up against, daughter's having a fit in there. So, and it sucks because I've been on shows with both these guys, and I've been in the ring with Raven a couple times. And I remember him as Scotty Flamingo and Johnny Polo, and I know what he can do. But if we're just talking like the Raven persona, Raven's biggest thing was his WCW run and his ECW run. Like when he came to the Fed, they really didn't do a whole lot with him. They kind of, but, and I loved his WCW run. I loved his whole feud with Tommy Dreamer and this and that. But
I wish it would have been more.
As a world champion, as a guy that was a great heel and a great storyteller, I think he's one of the best storytellers, and psychology-wise, one of the best there's ever been. I put him up there with Jake Roberts because, I mean, he was
yes.
That's where his influence was. He was trained by Jake. He even says that Jake gave me the DDT. Some legit stuff, And as far as that, it's hard to touch him. As far as a world champion, though, even on the mic, which is hard to say because Raven's good on the microphone. He can manipulate you in a crowd like nobody's business.
Yep.
I think MJF, though, honestly, even him being that much younger, would walk him because MJF is one of those few guys that comes along like once in a blue moon, and he's all persona all the time, and he can. Those three things I mentioned before. He's versatile. He can work with anybody. He can do damn near anything. He just chooses not to. You watch him working with Bandito, and he can do the lucha stuff with him and go out there and go, see, I'm still better than you because I can even out-lucha your ass, which very few people can get away with that. Or he can go out there with a guy and tell a story and just wrestle. Like, they did the whole dog collar match with CM Punk, which was a tribute to the match with him and Raven. It was a walk back on that. He can tell a story. He got a pinky ring over for how long? Not
right.
With it. A Burberry scarf. Simple little shit, And on the microphone, he's just amazing. And he's a hell of a dude, honestly. I ain't gonna lie. His work ethic is insane. So as far as a world champ, like MJF's hard to touch on anybody's level, especially with as long as he's been doing it, because he hasn't been in the championship spotlight that long, 5 to 7 years roughly. So that's an easy one for me as far as that. That's got to be MJF.
All right, that's two for MJF. JD, who you got, sir?
Yeah, this is definitely a good matchup, and I agree with Zodiac and Professor Bear that Raven, in terms of psychology, is probably right up there with Jake Roberts, definitely. But being a great champion, it never, to me, Raven's gimmick came from him, not whether or not he was champion. I don't feel that the belts ever did anything for Raven. So, but I think MJF is one of the best wrestlers, one of the best prime wrestlers we have on TV right now. I don't care what company it is. MJF is one of the best, and we're going to be talking about him for the next 20 years at least. So, again, I'm going to have to, and I think MJF, like Zodiac said, merchandising pretty much all across the board, MJF can outdo Raven, maybe with the exception of the psychology, because Raven was one of the best at that, and MJF is really good at it, but is he at Raven's level? I don't know. So I think Raven might have him over me in that, but I'm going to also have to go MJF on this one.
The upper slam.
I feel like this is probably going to be a clean sweep on this, and I'll tell you why. Like I said, I'm obviously going to go with MJF on this one. Just to start with, I didn't really think Raven should have got the win just from the jump. Like I said, I felt like Shane Douglas was a better champ. I think he would have been a better competitive in this tournament, but it didn't work out that way. So that's one reason. Two, Raven's whole gimmick was all the whole psychological shit with him and Tommy Dreamer, him and the Sandman. And MJF, that's not who he is. You know what I'm saying? You can't really fuck with his head and shit. I think he's a better wrestler. I don't think the psychology, that he would, do to other people, wouldn't even have an effect to him. And it's like we said, MJF is the future. We're going to be talking about this man for a long time. Just look at some of the matches that he's had already, and I enjoy that he's a kind of throwback to the old school where he's always in his character. You know what I'm saying? Like if you see him on the street, he's going to be the same guy as if you see him in the arena or whatever. Like he's already a star, and it doesn't matter if he ever goes to the WWE, he's still going to be a superstar just right where he's at. So this to me is pretty easy. It's going to be MJF.
Mr. Boulder.
So, stealing something we said about Hogan, I'm going to go with MJF, and it's a runaway for me because of MJF found something for him that works, and he stuck it, just like everybody said about Hogan, right? Hogan found something that worked for him, and he perfected it. MJF has made a career out of being an asshole all the time, 24/7. When he wakes up, he's an asshole. When he goes to bed, he's an asshole. When he's on camera, he's an asshole. When he's off camera, he's an asshole. Because that's who he is, and he does it better than anybody in the business right now, I think. So, I agree with Raven's psychology being heads and bounds have been better than most in the business ever. I really enjoyed him in WCW. That was kind of my prime watching time back then. One of the only things I really liked about WCW, honestly, I think I've been on record many times saying that I've always been more of a WWE guy or WWF guy. There's only a few that kept my attention. WCW. Raven was one of them for whatever reason. Little did I know that years later it'd be because this is the crap I like to watch or even do in the ring. But yeah, it's MJF, and I think it's not close. No disrespect to Raven at all, but I think it's not close. He's pushed boundaries. I think that one of my favorite things is at one time, for a split second, he made me tiptoe the line of whether I thought he was actually going on script or off script with some things he's done. You know what I'm saying? And I think as a fan that knows, you know, when you can look at stuff and know, if he made me believe that he might have been shooting a little bit, I think that's probably what sets him apart from a lot of other people. So,
well, I mean, he's obviously won it, but let's finish out going around the walking liner, Michael Tucker. What you got for us, MJF or?
I mean, yeah, obviously, you know, I've done Lost here, but I'm gonna make a bold statement here and basically accuse everybody who went with MJF of, you know, like, are we really going to sit here and judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree? You know, you're talking about somebody who is big in 2026 versus somebody who is at his peak in 98, 99. You know, somebody who never even got even though, yeah, WCW was, you know, it was up there. It was a competitor. But, you know, Raven, I feel like he developed and everything in ECW. And regardless of which one it is, you know, his run in WWE was, what, a few months? He was basically with all the other guys from ECW and WCW who was just on Vince's shit list. But I don't feel like he was ever really given the chance in this. Like, and yes, you know, flowers to, you know, I love somebody in 2026 who's going to maintain kayfabe. You know, Dominic is one of my favorite heels today because of his commitment to that. I love it. But we're talking about two completely different generations and two completely different decades, and the crowd and the culture that was ECW and even to an extent WCW. I remember reading the biography on Raven when I was in, like, I don't know, probably like 6th grade or something, and just going like, because this guy now, like, this is the guy, you know, this would have been, you know, solid 5-6 years after his, you know, his big run back when he started getting back into indie and stuff. But I don't think that we're looking at the differences in the culture of wrestling at the time, that each was big. And Raven, like, he had that in my opinion, he had that it factor. And no, he wasn't I guess I'm kind of going the opposite way, that like Hogan was what everybody wanted. Raven was what ECW fans wanted. That didn't necessarily
Do you
translate.
think it breaks down to more of a cultural impact thing?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. And for the culture that he was heading, the counterculture of the late 90s, early 2000s, he was, he was up there with Tommy Dreamer and RVD and all the, Extreme Rules, hardcore, Mick Foley's and all that stuff of that time. If you took him out of that and given him a chance in a company like, AEW, I don't think that this would have been such a sweeping decision. I think there would have been a lot more debate for Raven. So I'm going with Raven.
Right? Mr. Encyclopedia.
MJF, like everybody has said, he's young. He's not even hit, but he's barely 26, 27. I don't know how old he is. And he's a multi-time AEW world champion. And whether it's still a relatively young company, he's the face of the brand. I don't care. A lot of people will say Moxley, but I say MJF. Like Zodi said, he got that pinky ring. He's still got it going over. Raven, he's up there on the greatest minds in the business. Why? He'll be the first to admit he was his own worst enemy when it comes, drugs, his attitude, this, that, and the other, alcohol. So a lot of his things, he's burned bridges where he still smells the smoke.
Yeah.
That being said, I've got to give my vote to MJF because he's young and he hasn't even touched the surface of truly what he's capable of doing. He is 100%, he's got that mindset of, I'm MJF, I'm better than you, and you know it.
Yep.
He's not conceited, the man is convinced.
That's it. Like
I said, he's barely 26 years old or however old he is, and I don't watch AEW all that much, but I do tune in to see what MJF says or does.
That's it. And if you've got something like that, you can, eventually something can pop off and, a la NWO or something like that, and you've got, all eyes on you all of a sudden and everything. Like, I know my vote doesn't count, and even if it did. But my opinion on this match is I love Raven for what he did for the culture back then and everything. Raven was one of the reasons why I even heard anything about ECW at the time and everything. But as far as MJF goes, I think MJF is literally a generational talent. I think MJF is a guy who is king, no matter what company he is in, he can carry a company. He is the flagship of AEW, hands down. There is no debating that. There are other great wrestlers in AEW. I like a lot of them. I like Will Ospreay a whole lot. There's a whole lot of talent in AEW, but MJF is the one who he's the main reason people tune in.
They were saying the same stuff about Vladimir Kozlov 12 years ago.
Well, what?
Hold on a second, Legend.
I never thought I would hear that comparison.
Hold on. I got two things I want to say real quick about this whole situation. Okay, when it comes to the whole Raven versus
MJF.
MJF, I feel like this is a good matchup because, look at the companies. You got ECW, which is kind of, of course, hardcore kind of stream, and you got AEW, which is basically almost the same thing, maybe a little bit more tamer because they don't have as much crazy shit from the audience or whatever, but they come up with crazy shit. So I feel like this is a really good matchup. Like either one could go to either side, and I still think MJF is the top talent here. No matter if you took Raven and put him in here or there, I think MJ is one of those people. He's going to shine no matter where he's at. And like number two, I'm pretty sure Raven would just diagnose was it last year with Parkinson disease.
Yes.
Yeah.
So shout out. I mean, prayers to him. Shout out for him or whatever.
Yes. Because man, I watched it. I encourage everybody to go watch that documentary. It was really, really good. I was impressed. I'm gonna watch it again probably before the weekend's over with.
I'm so glad that
Yeah.
was a unanimous vote, actually.
But yeah, MJF blasted that one. I mean, one Raven. Tucker, how does it feel to be on an island all by yourself? No, just joking.
I feel like it's a place I can have the most intelligent conversation.
Well,
Well
I would say this for you, Tucker. You just met me, so you'll learn.
All
Papa
righty. We are going to go around the horn here, and we are going to just go on across the way and do AJ Styles versus Kerry Von Erich, the Texas Tornado. We will once again start with Professor Bear, and tell us who you got.
Now, this matchup is the most interesting of all of the matchups because you're taking two different styles of wrestlers and you're comparing them with something that couldn't happen. The only way it's going to happen is a 2K game and you building people. The one thing that
Which I've done.
the one thing
I was
that
about to say, we got some memories, don't we, Jason?
Who hasn't done that? Who hasn't done that stuff?
Sorry, Professor Bear, go ahead.
Oh, you good. So I think that people don't give Kerry Von Erich enough credit for his mat game. He actually was pretty decent considering his build and what he was portrayed as. Of course, most people always think when you think Styles, you think a high fly, that quick, hard impact. But man, AJ was one hell of a mat wrestler too. I mean, when he could get you in his leg lock move, he could tap you. And again, this is for the greatest, in our opinion, the greatest world champion. I'm a big fan of both athletes, but I have a hard time seeing how Kerry would be able to beat AJ with his speed, his tenacity, and just overall presence. Kerry would definitely have his section of fans, but I think that AJ would be the one coming out of that matchup, and not just from wrestling, but from the big weak point of Kerry is you ain't beating Kerry in Texas. But like we all know, the world is bigger than Texas. So
Yep. So let me ask you this before we move on. You said it couldn't happen. That would be a good matchup, I think, though, because all the Von Erichs could go. And that's just that's facts. All three of them could go really good in the ring, and they all three had similar styles, I would say, in my opinion. But do you think that you don't have to just a quick yes or no? Do you think AJ Styles is what they, as people have said, the modern day Shawn Michaels?
I think AJ Styles is the modern day AJ Styles.
That's it. Because I hate when people do that.
Well, and I understand why they compare him so much to him, but here's the big caveat to that to me. We can compare wrestlers all day of, well, they're similar or they have styles and blah, blah, blah. How many wrestlers can make their own lane, their own way, and do so much when, look, most people said that AJ had no chance in WWE. And what did he do? Nobody thought he would
First ballot Hall of Famer.
Nobody thought he would succeed in New Japan the way he did.
No.
Every time you count AJ out,
AJ wins.
Exactly.
Yep. Zodiac, who you got?
Like he said, if we're wrestling in Texas, nobody beats Kerry Von Erich or any of the Von Erichs. If we're talking about an actual world champion, Kerry Von Erich really wasn't a world champion. Like, he was a tag team wrestler. He was a multi-man wrestler. He was big in Texas in his father's promotion. He was a one-time NWA champ, held the world-class, I think, world-class title a few times.
Yeah.
And had he not had the motorcycle wreck, things might have been different. He was a great Intercontinental champion. His whole feud with Mr. Perfect was fire, but he was never really a big-time world champion. And I might catch hate for this. I think the only reason Kerry Von Erich and the Von Erichs got so big was because the way their family pushed them in Texas, and then they got over with that, and they put them over on everybody. Great talent, great athlete, all of them, great athlete, great people. I've never met him, but I've seen like his brothers and stuff where they're still out. Good people. But as far as a world champion, like a lot of that, he just wasn't a world champion.
Right.
But could he have been had the motorcycle wreck not happened? I think he would have went on in WWF at the time to get the Intercontinental champion, and I think he would have been a world champion potentially in WWF, but circumstances.
I agree with that because Hogan was on his way out and the things weren't working out with the Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah.
And I believe 100% that's why he was brought into the WWF. I believe the drugs just
totally
caught up.
Yeah,
because
totally. And everybody wanted to put him over. So
yes. Had the drugs not been there, I think he would have still gotten a run even with the leg thing.
Yeah. I think
that just goes to show how great he was.
Yeah, I think because the way he wrestled, you couldn't tell he had a prosthetic.
Yes.
I think he would have had a good solid run with it. I don't know if it had been a multiple run. That would just depend on marketing because he had the personality and everything. He was marketable. He could go out there and work pretty much with anybody.
Yep.
Give him that. That tornado punch in the claw and all that. Very simple. Kids loved him. They could have brought his family in, his brothers in to do some stuff, but it didn't happen. So you can't.
The Harts versus the Von Erichs.
Yeah, you can't add something
that
in.
Wrote itself right there.
Unfortunately. And then the difference for me, though, is AJ Styles is self-made.
Yep.
He started from the bottom, clawed his way up. He carried TNA, whatever you want to call it, Impact on his back. Had it not been for his matches with like Abyss and everybody else, TNA would have fell off the map. I'm sorry. They probably would have. And then his run in New Japan with the New Japan World title, the Bullet Club, all that. AJ Styles is a revolutionary wrestler.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, it and a lot of people's like, man, I wish he would have went to WWE sooner. I don't, because he wasn't ready for WWE. And he even said that. He said when he got there, he realized I don't know shit still. And John Cena and a couple of the guys, he credits to them, took him in, was like, here, you know how to be a star. I'm going to teach you how to be a superstar. And he
they seen it on him.
Yeah.
So they were like, man, we're getting old. We've got it. And that's to their credit. They seen it. We got to get this guy over so he can carry this for a couple of years. He's the humblest
guy you'll ever meet in your life.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, and that goes back to those three things, man. Work ethic, versatility, marketability. He's always been marketable, whether he's a heel or babyface.
Yep.
He's versatile. He can wrestle anybody. I don't care who it is. You put him in the ring with him, he's not going to have an AJ Styles match. He's going to be AJ Styles wrestling with whoever. I don't care who it is.
Yep.
And and he's marketable in his work ethic. So hands down, that's an AJ Styles one.
I know my stepson bought a pair of gloves.
Even if he didn't have his WWF run or WWE run and have those, I would still pick him over Kerry Von Erich.
All right, Mr. Bad Guy, who you got?
I'm going to also pick AJ Styles. I think Kerry Von Erich certainly had the potential, as Zodiac was just touching on, but for whatever reason, it didn't come to fruition. So, and I don't think you can compare that to what AJ Styles has done. He absolutely carried TNA on his back. His matches with Christopher Daniels, with Abyss, were just some of the best. I mean, the X division. I mean, that's he. Without him, I don't know. He was the star of the X division when it first started in TNA. So I don't know that you don't have a TNA without AJ Styles. I think he's the face of TNA the way Sting is the face of WCW, or Taker or Hogan is the face of WWE. I think AJ Styles was the face of TNA. And Kerry Von Erich was one of those, faces for WCCW out of Texas and stuff. But that's really all the further he really got. He never really made it more than that beyond Texas. So I'm going to also pick AJ Styles.
Slam.
I'm kind of going to agree with a lot of like what everybody said, especially Zodi or whatever, when it comes to, the whole AJ Styles and being, versatile, can do anything, wrestle any match, go anywhere, especially, being in Japan, being in TNA. I think he's a little more versatile. I think that they would have had a hell of a match together, but it's kind of like Bear said, like, unless you're in Texas, he's not really that big or whatever. The biggest he got was mid-card, and I give him a lot of respect, having the prosthetic leg and still being able to go out there and wrestle, and people not even be able to tell, because I could never tell and stuff. Like, I didn't know until I got older that he had a fake leg. It's just kind of sad that the drugs and, the whole suicide and all that happened or whatever. But I believe, taking all that away, AJ Styles is Mr. TNA. He's, that's what they used to call him. I believe, like, he is, if he's not one of the biggest champs in TNA, like, he was the biggest champ. The only person I could think of probably bigger would be Kurt Angle. And that's just, just because I like Kurt just a little bit more. So I feel like AJ is just, surpassed Kerry. I like Kerry, but I can't give it to him.
So that's 4 for AJ. Who you got, Mr. Boulder?
Oh, man. Kudos to Kerry for doing it better with one leg than a lot of people done it on two.
So true.
But like Zodi said, he wasn't really a world champion. He killed the Texas territory. I mean, he absolutely just raked there, in Texas. He was great. Maybe just the GOAT when it comes to that one state. And I'm a Stone Cold fan, just so you know. And I know that Shawn Michaels lovers are in here too. So, he might be the Texas GOAT, really. But AJ Styles has been not successful, but overly successful in every place he's ever been. If he's stepped in a ring in a promotion in his life, he's been the top 1, 2, or 3 wrestlers in that company, period. Everywhere he's been. He's busted his rear end in every place he's been. He's innovated things everywhere he's been, and you said first ballot Hall of Famer. The dude had been retired 17 minutes and he was in the Hall of Fame. So that tells you that. I mean, that's something, right? People can say it's because they was trying to keep him out of AEW. Whatever it was, they saw it fit to put him in the Hall of Fame within minutes of this guy being retired.
Either he was a true Hall of Famer, or the fact that he had that much of an impact that he was leaving,
exactly,
and it was gonna so we got to secure him staying here. Yeah.
So that's the impact of AJ Styles, and then somebody alluded to, Cena and these guys, saying, "Hey, listen, you're great, but let's show you how to be even better." Those guys seeing it in them, those legends seeing that in AJ when he comes to WWE. It's AJ all day. It's AJ.
Let me ask you this real quick. Do you think that the thing that hampered WCCW and the reason we weren't talking about WCW, WCCW, and WWF at the time was because of the fact that Fritz wouldn't go like national and global?
Sure. I mean, that's Vince McMahon had a vision, and his vision was for it to be on every television in America and all over the world. Fritz didn't have that same vision, so for him
But
to
do you
be
think had he had that vision, you think the Von Erichs themselves could have been global stars like a Flair and like a Hogan?
very much potential, I think so. Honestly, I think they
Okay,
really
I
could
do
have been.
too.
I really do.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All righty. Well, regardless of the fact, Texas had a hold on them. Tucker, who you got?
Obviously AJ Styles, I feel like in this one it almost goes without saying, to be honest. But I will say this, as a disclaimer, a little asterisk by all the Von Erichs, that I don't think anybody would disagree with me whenever I say, much like a lot of the guys from that era, the Ric Flairs, the Dusty Rhodes, the greatest match that any Von Erich ever had more than likely was not televised. More than likely was in front of under 100 people. Was a
Right.
match that we will never, ever, ever get to be blessed with. Kind of like how the greatest guitarist that's ever lived probably died living homeless in the streets of Nashville.
Some Saturday night at the Sportatorium against the Freebirds or something
Exactly.
like that. Yeah.
But I'm really surprised that I think Professor Bear mentioned the whole Shawn Michaels connection and stuff right out the gate. That's natural to kind of gravitate towards those comparisons. For me personally, I've always said or thought that like AJ Styles, he's not Shawn Michaels, he's AJ Styles, but if you wanted to describe him to a wrestling fan who's familiar with the business, familiar with these performers, who just happens to not know who AJ Styles is, in my mind, you've got wrestlers who talk about their heroes. Shawn Michaels, his hero is Ric Flair. AJ Styles, in my mind, is Shawn Michaels if he grew up wanting to be Sting, or Sting growing up wanting to be Shawn Michaels. He's like the two of those melded into one, from the small competitor to the WWE, to the in-ring psychology, to the performance, to everything. He is the best of Sting and the best of Shawn Michaels wrapped into one. And so it's, in my opinion, it's almost unfair. I think, was it his and Cena's last match? Cena did his little salute to him where he had the announcer say he is the definition of total nonstop action. You could, where they always say, you can put Shawn Michaels in the room with a broomstick and he would, have a 5-star match. You could put AJ Styles in Madison Square Garden in front of 20,000 people, or in the Armory here in Danville in front of 20 people, and he's going to absolutely tear down the house. Now, it might be the same. I'm sure it was the same way with the Von Erichs, but we just never got that. We never got that with Terry or any of them. And so, do what?
We got it too late.
We got it too, yeah, absolutely. And so, yeah, I feel like it's just kind of a natural no-brainer to go with AJ, and that doesn't take anything away from Terry and everything that he did. But yeah, it's AJ all the way.
Mr. Encyclopedia himself.
Alrighty. Another bit of useless knowledge. Had Hogan not left the AWA, from what I have heard, they were actually going to try to recruit Kerry Von Erich, not Terry Von Erich, Tucker.
My bad. Yeah.
I got to mess with you. But they were going to try to recruit.
What'd you say, Brox?
Wow. Just call a guy out. You know what I'm saying? The hell with you, Tucker. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm just saying.
I still had Hogan on the brain.
Well, like I said, a little bit of wrestling knowledge is they were going to have Hogan not left the AWA, had he stayed under Vern's thumb, if you will, they were going to try to put the rocket ship on Kerry Von Erich.
Kerry.
Now,
with a K.
But, obviously Hogan saw that his day, there was a ceiling at the AWA, and, they say he was supposed to marry Vern's daughter and he get a title shot, whatever. get the title run, whatever. I'll believe that when I see what Vern said. But they're both gone now. AJ, from the beginning of TNA, actually from the end of WCW, there was something special with AJ Styles.
Because he was in WCW.
Yeah, he was in WCW the last 2 months. There was something special. You couldn't quite put your finger on it, but there was something very special about AJ Styles.
Well, he was part of that new wave that everybody that was coming in, like Jindrak and O'Hare and Palumbo and all them and everything.
What's crazy is I was living in Texas at the time, near Dallas, so I got to actually visit before they tore down the Dallas Sportatorium. I got to drive by. I couldn't go in and look around, but I was like, oh, cool. And then, but I was, syndication, wrestling. There was NWA Wildside. AJ Styles and Air Paris was the feud of the century for that small company. So I already know.
Woo! Air Paris.
Yeah. Laugh on the past. They were the feud that they get brought to WCW, and their best friends. They're teaming up. They're Air Raid or whatever.
Air Raid,
the tag team.
Yeah.
But there was something special with AJ. And then he goes, TNA, they open the doors. It's, Jeff Jarrett company, but AJ was, if it wasn't 1A, he was 1B in that company, no matter what. No matter what, before Kurt Angle was there, that was AJ Styles' company. Whether he was in the tag team division, his tag team matches with Christopher Daniels, where they were team, hell, him and Jerry Lynn in the infancy. That was feud of the year.
When TNA started, I understood Jeff Jarrett being the champion because you needed a good heel world champion. But the reason they brought Kurt Angle in was, as good as AJ was, Kurt Angle lent the legitimacy to their world title. And it gave them the ability to break away from the NWA championship and make their own world championship, so that, because Angle had it and said it was a world championship, it's legitimately a world title. Plus, he's a world champion.
Now, I'm going to get into Kerry Von Erich. He could have been a real big star. The only reason they put the NWA world title on him is because David passed away. Had David not passed away in Japan, Kerry wouldn't have got the title shot. They only held it, he held it for 2-3 weeks, whichever, which is better than nothing. He put it back to Flair, but on the NWA Dome Globe title, the original one, Kerry Von Erich took his pocket knife and put his initials on the main plate. That way he's forever legitimized on that belt. Yeah.
You ain't gonna forget me 9 days.
But I'm giving my vote to, I love Kerry, but like you said, he wasn't any bigger out of Texas. Take him out of Texas, he was, I hate to say it, mid-card at best, and he was I'm not trying to badmouth the man, but he looked great in an 8x10, but in my opinion, he couldn't wrestle his way out of a wet paper sack. If you hit a pocket knife and scissors. My opinion. So I'm giving my nod to Alan Jones, aka AJ. Well, shout out to young Avery Styles. He's making his name in the business. His son's wrestling, and Luke Gallows' son are teaming up. They're called Sons of the Club.
Yep.
So
I like that.
Yeah, I
Uh,
seen
Yeah.
them
So
in
I'm
Knoxville 2
on
weeks ago.
AJ Styles.
What'd you say, Professor Bear?
I saw them wrestle in Knoxville 2 weeks ago.
Hey, that's pretty awesome.
They're
Yeah,
their
they're not-
daddy's made. They're their daddy's made over too. Boy, I tell you what.
yes,
Yes,
yes.
Lord.
I'll see
Oh.
I'll see Luke Gallows and them the 22nd up there in Corbin.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I'm jealous.
Dude,
Well, that's
I'm
gonna be a
telling
hell of
you,
a show. They got the Good Brothers versus FTR.
I
You know,
have
it'll
got
be
to
their
get
last
a,
match in the States.
I've got to get a vehicle that I can trust to drive down to Corbin so that I can go see some of these matches because I enjoyed the AMW that came to
Hey,
Lexington.
we can always rent a car or something, man, if you want to pitch in.
Hey, like, I'm always down, man. We'll figure it out, man.
Carl Anderson made me feel old. One of the last times I seen him at an AMW show, we're sitting there BS, and he looks at Doc Gallows and he goes, "Oh yeah, Mikey, there was my very first match." I was like, "You son of a bitch." He goes, "How old are you?" I'm like, "Shut up, Gallows. Leave me alone."
Alrighty, guys, we are getting to the last match in the first round of this, and then we've got each side. Yeah, it's gonna get interesting from here on out. But the last match in the first round is a classic, and if anybody doesn't think it's classic, you obviously don't know much about wrestling. This is WCW personified. I would argue that NWA was kind of Flair and Race for a minute, and then it went to Flair and Dusty. And then whenever it flipped over to WCW, it was Flair and Sting. And that is the next matchup. We have got the Nature Boy Ric Flair versus the icon, the man known as Sting. Professor Bear, take it away for us, my friend.
I'm going to keep this short and simple. Anytime these two gentlemen get in the ring and there is a match, you might as well sit down and enjoy a wrestling classic.
Lock in.
Just, it is what it is. But there is no way that the Stinger, as much as I love him, is going to beat the dirtiest player in the game. It's shown time and time and time again. Every time Sting tell him, if you swerve me, I'm going to kill you. Well, you might as well have killed him every single time because Flair pulled it, he done it, and he smiled in your face and woo behind your back, baby, because that's what the Nature Boy does. Flair.
Yeah.
We got a Ric Flair. Yeah, I mean, you can't argue that. Mr. Zodiac, who you got?
I'll keep this one a little short too. Honestly, it's not like I love Sting. Don't get me wrong. The whole Crow persona was one of my favorite characters. Like, absolutely, and he's iconic, dude. Still doing his thing now. His son's wrestling now. You know, been doing good. Garrett. So Ric Flair to me is like he was for the NWA and WCW what Hogan was for the WWF. I feel like he put them on an international level and introduced people outside of the wrestling community to the wrestling world. He lived the character. He was Ric Flair, and hands down, I firmly believe had there not been Ric Flair, there would be no Sting. Ric Flair, in my opinion, made Sting who he was. Like, Sting was great. You know, he was there with the Blade Runners, doing this, doing that. They put the surfer thing on him. But had it not been for his stuff with Ric Flair, Sting would not be Sting. And Flair made a lot of guys. Don't get me wrong. Flair went out there and made a lot of people. And those matches that you go that some of the greatest matches you'll never see, he was doing 60-minute matches with guys in every territory, night after night, putting guys over where they almost beat the champ. And just nonstop. So, like, Flair, in my opinion, is one of the greatest world champions of all time, period, hands down. Whether you like him or don't, whether you like his wrestling style or don't. If you see a Flair match, you've seen a Flair match. You know, but his stuff with Steamboat, all that, a lot of guys, Flair made a lot of dudes, and Sting was one of them. So yeah, Flair hands down.
You said if you've seen a Flair match, you've seen a Flair match. I would argue the same thing with Sting.
Yeah.
But again, they found their niche. Let me ask you a question before we move on. I'm trying to hit a few questions here as I think of them too. Do you think if they would have been able to supplement Sting for the Ultimate Warrior at the time, that Sting would have become bigger in the WWE with Hogan leaving?
Yeah.
Supplemental match. Because
Yeah.
I think Warrior fails
Yeah.
against Flair doing the thing that Sting did. But I think Sting thrives.
Sting was way more versatile. Yeah. Warrior was an attraction. You know, that's why he didn't have the belts on. He was an attraction. He could go out there and he could get at it for a few minutes, high energy, hit the clotheslines, a couple things. But if you watch the Ultimate Warrior for more than 5-7 minutes, except for the match that Hogan got him through, it was people just fell out.
He hit on one of those things, charisma, and that
Yeah.
was about it.
Very charismatic. I'm glad he got his stuff together in the later years of his life because he was a real prick. You know, pardon my language, but he was. And had that been Sting instead, with what he would have done with it, and like the way he would keep relations with the office and do good business and everything else, that he would have like a rocket ship. They could have strapped a bottle rocket to him and fucking flew him to the moon. Like he would have especially with that surfer gimmick in the 90s, rolling Hogan out and putting him in there. He's the next big beach body guy with the arms and the hair and the paint. You know, all the kids wearing the Sting masks and all that. Oh, he'd have been a millionaire 10 times over, and
over like Rover.
He may have surpassed Hogan if they'd have done that with him with that surfer gimmick.
Do you think that's true though, with all that cartoony stuff kind of dying out?
No, not totally,
No?
totally. Even with it dying out a little bit because he was different. He was different with it. Hogan
Vince
was
is good at repackaging.
Man, Sting was intense, man, and his style was different. You know, so he totally would have done a rocket ship on that one.
Well, we're just going to go ahead and skip JD because we already know what his pick's going to be. No, I'm just joking. Go ahead, JD, or should I go ahead and just put one down for Sting?
Well, you never know. I might maybe I'll throw a curveball your way. Listen, of course, anybody on the panel who doesn't know obviously knows by now that Sting is definitely my favorite wrestler. He was the one that got me into wrestling. I went as Sting for Halloween several years in a row.
I love Sting.
Yeah, I'm one of the biggest Sting fans throughout his whole career. I don't care what it is. I love everything that he does.
Wait, now who is Sting?
All right, man. Listen. Let's step outside.
Oh my God.
Step outside, he said.
Let's step outside. No, but I mean, listen though, without as big as Sting was, and yes, I think he was likely as popular as a Hogan and a Flair and all them. Like he could compete with the draw and everything, and he could certainly go in the ring too. Him and Flair used to wrestle 60 minutes a night through the mid to late 80s and into the 90s, so they could both go in the ring. The thing is, though, it comes back to I think something Zodiac said, and that is, without a Ric Flair, is there a Sting, or at least is there a Sting the way we know him? I don't know that there is. I think we would have gotten the Surfer Sting because that was Dusty Rhodes' idea, but would he have gotten as popular? Would he have gotten as big without his work with Ric Flair and the Four Horsemen and his feud with the Four Horsemen? I don't know about that. I think that was one of the things, like Zodiac said, and I think Professor Bear said it too. Flair was so good at putting people over, even if he was the one that won the match. He's still he could, as Zodiac said, he would go around to the territories and nobody would beat him, but he would still make every single one of their company's representatives facing him look like they just got there. They were a fraction of an inch away from being able to knock off the greatest world champion at that time. So as good as Sting is, and as everything that he accomplished, and I include his undefeated streak in AEW as a tag team, I also really appreciate that he never wrestled a singles match in AEW. WWE was the end of his singles career.
Oh, yeah.
So
think about that.
Yeah, he'd never wrestled one singles match in AEW. They were all tag matches or 6-man tag matches. So, but I just, as much as I love Sting as a fan, though, objectively, is he the greatest world champion of all time? And can you put him over Ric Flair? I don't know that you can do that. So I'm gonna throw a curveball at everybody, and I'm actually gonna go with Ric Flair on this one. I as much as I love Sting, I just don't see how you can say that he's a better champion than Ric Flair, who wrestled and was champion on and off for 55 years.
Good points, man. Good points, Uncle Slam.
I love Sting. I'm like JD, man. I've always been a huge fan. Now, he didn't get me into wrestling, but he definitely kept me there. You know what I'm saying? Surfer Sting, Crow Sting. Now, I didn't watch a whole bunch when he got the TNA. I kind of fell off a little bit of that. I really always loved his matches. Always thought he gave a lot of energy, but at the same, he's not Ric Flair. He's not the 17-time champ. He's not the pop culture icon that people still talk about, that, you know, people woo, you know, whether it's in pro sports, whether it's in rappers and stuff like that, whether it's in pop culture. People know Ric Flair almost as much as they, you know, you would say like a Hogan and stuff. I think and this ain't even with, you know, wrestling and stuff, you know, and he's, you know, his wrestling's been done for a while or whatever. I just think Ric Flair's just too big. I mean, I think that it's kind of like you said, he could go to any territory. He could make anybody look good. I mean, he damn near did go to every territory. I can't really think of a place, or I can't think of too many people that he didn't wrestle or wouldn't wrestle.
It does not need to be done on here.
To me, I mean, like, as much as I love Sting, Ric Flair, I have a hard time putting anybody over Ric Flair,
No, you
except for
don't.
maybe one other person.
You don't. Stop.
Got another Ric Flair, Brock's Boulder, sir.
Well, first of all, I'm a little bit more of a Sting fan than I ever was, since one of his sons played football at UK. Anybody knows me knows I'm a huge UK fan. So since he played tight end at UK, I became a little more of a Sting fan. Even though it wasn't Sting, it was still Steve Borden.
Did I go deaf or did he go mute?
We can all hear him.
I can't hear him.
So you went deaf. You went deaf.
So yeah. Brock
So
just
you
said you went deaf. Tucker.
You went deaf.
Said what?
He said you went deaf.
Oh, them L's up, man.
I can't hear anything.
L's
I
down,
can't hear
baby.
anything.
L's down.
That's
It's
just Brock
Flair.
telling you that he hates you, my dear.
It's Flair.
And
It's
honestly, I
Flair.
don't blame him.
And here's what I hate about it is it's Flair, and we're not going to get to see, you know, Cena down here, and we're not going to get to see some of the ones we should be able to see in later in this tournament here. I think the foreshadowing's out there. It's almost like when you have the Greatest Intercontinental Championship tournament, and Uncle Slam and Jay Legend are over here fighting each other over Brett and Sean. We're doing some foreshadowing here already. So it's Flair. I mean, great point from JD though. The fact that I think it was JD that said it, that he went everywhere and he beat everyone, but he 1000% made
that doesn't mean it
make
is.
their
So it
person
should be.
made that his opponent look like $1 million. That's what the game's about. Is how can I get that person over and get myself over at the same time? And Flair might have done that better than anybody else. So Flair.
We lost Tucker. I don't know what he did.
He's having technical issues.
It's domestic issues, is what it sounded like.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Domestic issues.
He's having a Flair issue. Oh, there he is.
I'm back.
I was going to say in a Flair debate. Imagine that.
Right. I started a fight at home.
No, I just missed everything.
We're just making fun of why you dropped out. We were like, he said it sounds like domestic issues. JD said he's having technical issues. Brock said it sounds like domestic issues. Like I said, domestical.
Well, she told me, she said, just log out and log back in.
Yeah, that's always
There
the
you go.
best way with StreamYard. Yeah.
That is.
Yeah.
We thought maybe you were being abused or something with your domestic
That's
issues.
it.
No,
perhaps.
no, no, no. That was
You
with
were
the last
concerned.
marriage. That's not with this
Take
one.
your
Oh,
glasses
good,
off
good.
and blink twice if you need help.
Right.
Yeah.
All else
At
fails,
your leg.
all else fails, give her 2 claps and a Ric Flair.
There you
Two
go.
claps and a Ric Flair.
If you're going to
They
do
think
the
you're
Ric,
abusing me, my dear.
if you're going to do the Ric Flair, you're just going to have to give her the clap. If you're actually acting like Ric Flair.
I've never had the clap. I can't pass it. Wait, what? Who?
Never mind. Tucker, who you got? You got Flair, you got Sting, sir.
Okay.
I think I'm abusing you.
Because I left the chat.
Oh, damn. Accurate, but
So, gosh.
Love that. We can hear everything she's saying. I don't know if she
Again,
knows that.
I just said this, and I was thinking about Flair and Sting whenever I said what?
I need the keys.
I was thinking about Flair and Sting whenever I said this on the last one about we got Starrcade. What was it? 97, 98. Flair and Sting. This god awful match.
97, 98?
97, I think. Yeah,
that was-
the greatest match between Flair and Sting. None of us will ever get to see. It wasn't recorded. It wasn't whatever. Comparing Sting to Warrior, I don't know. I got ADHD too. You give me enough cocaine and steroids, I could be as big as the Ultimate Warrior. Whatever. But and I love Sting. I absolutely love Sting. But I think it was either JD or Uncle Slam who said it. I always have mad respect for the guy who can go in, make the talent look like $1 million, and this is why I like Shawn Michaels. Make his opponent look like $1 million, win or lose, doesn't matter, and still both of them come out looking like, oh yeah, that was whatever, that was a great match. I always liken Flair to WrestleMania 25, even though he had nothing to do with it. Shawn and Undertaker. Watched that match, sat down after it was over, and went, I just watched the greatest wrestling match that's ever happened. And then with a little bit of catharsis, you think to yourself, what about the matches I've never got to see? And when I think of that, I think of Ric Flair every single time. Ric Flair is the greatest of all time. If Sting, as great as Sting is, love the gimmick, Ultimate Warrior could never go an entire year on television without saying a single word and still get over the way Sting got over.
Absolutely.
And that speaks volumes to his abilities. Because what was it like? Y'all help me with the years.
18 months, I think it was.
18 months, didn't say a word on not a promo cut on live TV.
It was over a year. I don't want to say it was guaranteed.
Over a year.
Fall Brawl
And
takes place in
still
December, and he came
on people's
when he
Mount
got back in-
Rushmores.
Yeah, when he got back in the ring, it was December of the next year. September,
Yeah.
the Fall Brawl War Games was his last time in the ring in a legitimate match.
Yeah.
And then he didn't come back into the ring until December the following year for Starrcade.
Yeah.
And-
So,
and then he did have a thing.
obviously, this is, Ali Tyson type, conversations, even though we did get to see the two, match up. But whether or not we really ever got to witness it at its best, we never did. But I still have to go Flair every time. There's only one limousine riding, there's only one jet flying, there's only one kiss stealing. It's Flair.
All righty, Wrestling Encyclopedia, who you got, sir?
All right. Flair, as we all know, he is the very last touring NWA World Heavyweight Champion in the 80s. When he got the title, Starrcade 83, a Flair for the gold, Flair and Harley Race. Now, we all heard the story about what happens there. He beat Harley Race. Vince offered Harley Race a buttload of money to not save your money. I'm showing up. I got to do what I got to do. I got to put Kansas City from Flair. From Vince, but he ended up going to Vince anyway. So make that make sense. And another one. The greatest things he did was either Hogan or it was Flair. Anything else, an argument could be made. His matches with Big Van Vader, God rest his soul.
Think about those.
He has passed, but Flair may have been the poster child of WCW, Sting, excuse me. But I never saw Sting as the guy unless he was fighting either Hogan or Flair. He was a top mid-card, main event, but not really. He's a 6-time WCW champion. One of them, he won the match, won the night, and then lost it that same night in 99. But that was when they were trading the title like hot potato.
Yep.
Sting, though, he's loyal to whatever company he's with. Because remember, a lot of the things with TNA, Sting was there to give some, much like Kurt Angle, some legitimacy to that company.
Yeah.
But, like Zodi,
Especially
you've seen
with the
one Sting match.
uncertainty of Flair at the time.
Exactly. But Flair, like everybody said, you could do a strap, he could put a match on with a broomstick and put it to a 5-star match. I've also seen Flair wrestle people whose personality would be improved with a broomstick, but that's another story. I'm going to agree with Tucky over here, Tucker, the walking one-liner, and I'm going to go, and with everybody else that voted for him, I'm going to go with Ric Flair over Sting.
Well, it doesn't matter what I say. I'm not voting, but just a small opinion of mine. I think Ric Flair is, as a kid, Hogan was the Flash. He had the backing of the machine that was the WWE and Titan Sports and all that stuff. And, it was everything behind him. But when you go back and you look at the meat and potatoes of what wrestling is and, everything like that, you see what the original NWA, and I'm not saying it's bad now, I like the NWA now, but you get to go back and see what wrestling is. You know what I'm saying? Without all the flash and the smoke and the mirror, you get to see what it's supposed to be in the ring, the storytelling. Let's go out there and tell a good story through doing the poetry that we're going to do in the ring, and it's beautiful. And the more I grew up, the more I understood that and everything. So to me, his title became more important, because he wasn't just defending it within the realms of the WWF. He was literally going to every territory. He was fighting everybody else's champion. And he was, it was a true world championship. To me, it had more legitimacy and everything. So I think Flair, is probably one of the greatest of all time, hands down. But just a funny side note, one of my favorite promos of all time, and I'll just be sitting here playing 2K or something when I got some downtime, and I'll be playing as Ric Flair, and all of a sudden I'll just sit here and be like, Bischoff, you son of a bitch. That was like when he bit his tongue, man. I don't know why.
That's your vocal stem.
I love that. I love that promo from Ric Flair.
Start dropping elbows on your jacket and your shoes.
Yes, man. It's great. Yes, I love Ric Flair. Alrighty, so we are down to the actual final four, guys. We got Hulk Hogan versus MJF. We got AJ Styles versus Ric Flair. We're going to start this round off, and Professor Bear, who do you got between? Let's start with just the way we have been, Hogan and MJF.
What a Final Four! I just want to say that. What a Final
Yes.
Four for this
Yes.
tournament.
It's crazy too. I mean, who would have guessed? Starting this, who would have guessed?
Yeah, 8 companies were down to the Final Four, and this is the Final Four of 8 different companies. That's amazing.
Wait till we do revisit the tag team championships.
I'm looking forward to that.
All right, Professor Bear, who you got? Hello again.
Hi, young lady.
Say good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
So
She loves her wrestling too. She calls it her booms. So
There you go. There you go. Start them young. My 9-year-old.
she managed to go lay down, and she can't mess around on the thing and everything else now.
So to me, this is a modern day
No,
Hogan versus Piper.
he was busy.
It's just everything that Piper was, MJF is, except he's a much better technical wrestler than Piper.
I actually love that comparison. That's the first time I've ever heard that.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at his mic skills. Whatever he wants you to feel, you're gonna feel.
Absolutely.
He knows how to hit buttons that would just take other people over the edge. And the biggest thing for me, and it even kills me to even say this, as much as MJF would light a flame under Hogan, and would probably even make Hogan come out to Terry Bollea, that damn leg drop would win at the end. I hate to even let it come out of my mouth, but truthfully, it got to be Hogan.
I have to ask a question to all people who have been active wrestlers. And I'm being honest because I don't know if it's like some insider secret or something, but why is it that every move that anybody did in the 80s always started with bionic? It was either bionic elbow, the bionic leg drop, the bionic. I mean, I'm surprised it wasn't like the
Steve Austin,
bionic,
6 million man.
right, the bionic stunner. I've noticed that. Like everything
Yeah.
was bionic this and bionic that. I was like, was everybody $6 million man? Was that?
I think it was just
The,
it was
the
just
$6 million man, Lee Majors. He was bionic. They had the bionic woman. That's
Right.
a lot of like when Dusty would do the bionic elbow,
Yeah.
you know, have a shoulder pad, elbow pad on.
Yep.
If you
They
look
did-
really closely at those 80s videos, you can see their eyes going boop, 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 boop.
But they put it on a little thing like Dusty had bionics put onto his elbow. That's why his elbow was so powerful when he'd hit you with it.
Yeah, it just I never
Now-
understood why everything was bionic. I just never got it. Professor Bear, who did you vote for again? I'm sorry.
Oh, you're gonna make me say it again, Jesus.
Hogan.
Oh, that's right. The leg drop one.
How
The
you gonna
leg
make him
drop
say it
one.
again?
I'm sorry. The leg drop one. Zodi, go ahead.
This is an odd one. I like the Hogan Piper comparison. I had a different comparison, which was it's kind of similar. I don't know why when I see this kind of matchup, and I'm not putting him on the same level because like he's on a whole other level. But one of my favorite matches was Hogan and Rock from WrestleMania 18.
Okay.
Now I'm not putting
Yeah.
MJF on that Rock level because that's a high tier thing.
I
but-
think he's beyond it already.
I could see it as a build match like that. And depending on what timeline we're talking, like I could see MJF winning a match like that. Because Rock won that one. That one was the big one, and they were smart enough in that match. I like it to flip it to where it was like, okay, this ain't working. Hogan's not the bad guy in this.
Right.
So Hogan's the big. I would love to see Hollywood Hogan against MJF, and I think that would be a money match. And finish for me, Hogan misses the leg. MJF smooshes him with the fucking ring, pardon my language, with the ring. Boom. 1, 2, 3. You know, he surely ain't going to take the Panama Sunrise from him, or the other the pile driver through the ropes. So it's got to be a dirty finish. That don't work for me, brother. But
please.
Oh, you got me. You got me, brother.
Hogan is a revolutionary champion and one of the greatest world champions, I think. I got to go with MJF on that one.
Okay.
All right.
That's my swerve on that one.
Zodiac, you're my new best friend, buddy.
All right, JD, who you got?
I'm sorry, I'm not casting a vote for Hogan. In my opinion, if you want to be the greatest world champion, if you want that title of being the greatest world champion, then at some point in your career, you needed to put someone else over. I don't believe that Hogan ever did that efficiently or effectively or in the way that it was needed to be done. The Rock come on, that was Vince. That wasn't Hogan or Rock. That was Vince. Vince did that whole match. That was all Vince McMahon. It had his fingerprints all over that match. So, and even then it wasn't, I don't know. I'm not a Hogan fan anyway. So I'm not going to vote for him. And I think MJF is twice the heel Hogan ever was. I think he's more charismatic than Hogan ever was. I think MJF is the future of wrestling, whether he's in WWE, AEW, NWA, or TNA, wherever he's going to go, you're going to have fans following him now. He has his own fan base. So I don't think I'm not going to vote for Hogan. I think MJF, I don't know if he's young yet. So is he the greatest world champion of all time? I don't know if he's there yet, but I think he's going to be. And like I said, I'm not casting a vote for Hogan. So MJF.
All right. So we got 2 for MJF and 1 for Hogan. This is going a little lopsided. For Slam, are you going to swing it back around?
All right. I'm going to kind of piggyback off with kind of like what JD said or whatever. I don't think MJF is the greatest yet because he's so young. That doesn't mean he won't be in the future, but we ain't talking about the future. We're talking about right now. And as far as right now, Hogan is that man. He's been that man for a long time. In the 80s he was. When he came back and went to WCW, he was again. I believe his impact in wrestling is just too hard to deny. I think there's only maybe one other person that I might put over him. As far as being the greatest or, being the GOAT of wrestling. I think MJF is a better wrestler. I don't know if he's better on the mic. I think one day he will be bigger than Hogan, but I don't see it right now. So I got to give my vote. I got to give my vote to Hogan.
Come on, Slam. I back you up all the time when you and J Mac are arguing.
I know.
Shawn Michaels. You can't back me up in this.
I can't. I got to stay true. I mean,
got to do it. Mr. Boulder, who you got?
Can I have a recap? Because I got kicked out and had to come back in. Can I get a recap on where the votes are at?
We are sitting at a 2-2 tie.
Yep.
Nice.
Oh, and I looked it up too because I was curious. We kept asking. MJF is 30.
Oh, 30? Okay.
He was born in 96.
So, in the interest of fairness, like Uncle Slam said, if we're talking about the greatest world champion ever, that adds a lot to the decision for me. If we're talking about how much I am not a fan of someone, that adds a lot of the decision for me too. But in the interest of fairness, it's Hogan. I think MJF will be that guy. I think when Zodi's little girl was having this debate with her friends in 30 years at 10 o'clock at night, on a podcast, they'll be talking about MJF. But I think right now for this one, it's Hogan, and then it kills my soul to say that because once again he got past Stone Cold Steve Austin somehow. But whatever, I digress. Whatever.
Chuck, who you got?
I think with MJF's age and stuff, you got to take that into consideration. I compared him, or I think Zodi I dropped his jaw earlier whenever I compared him to Vladimir Kozlov. But, like I'm talking about somebody who was white hot at one time. I remember seeing Kozlov against Triple H in Rupp Arena back in like 2011, and like everybody thought he was going to be the next big heel, and then he just dropped off. So like we have to understand that at any given time, he could piss off the wrong person and be mid card tomorrow. That never happened with Hogan.
He's been pissing people off his whole career, and that ain't happening.
That's fair. But he can piss off the wrong person in the wrong way, or the night's still young. I guess it would be the way I would say that. But
it could be Magnum TA, where he gets
this is also true, but this is also could be.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't. Am I allowed to swear here?
I mean, yes. I mean, as long as you're going off of a tirade or nothing.
Well, no.
I like being able to clip things and add them to social media.
I would be the first person to say, as a performer, as a wrestler, as a person, everyone's kind of been separating, Terry from Hogan, but like all of it together, I would be the first one to say, yeah, fuck Hogan.
I'll say right now.
You can't take away though the fact that he's Hogan.
Well, I had to push back on something. It's going to be either me or JD saying fuck Hogan first, but you'll be a closer third.
Yeah, I mean, like for all, basically, like that's kind of where we've been leaning. Everybody, I think. Like, I don't think any true fan really likes Hogan these days. But we got to give him his flowers. And it's unfortunate that it's him, that it's these two in the finals and not Hogan versus, say, Austin or whatever. But, I mean, at the end of the day, we all can make fun of the leg drop, but it got over. And, if he hit that leg drop, nobody was kicking out. And, it's the night's still young for... it's just Hogan. It's just Hogan. Unfortunately, I hate to say it, but right now for me, it's just Hogan.
Can I say something quick, J-Mac?
Yeah.
For everybody who's voted for Hogan, do you guys not consider, and this is just a straight up question, I'm not accusing anybody of anything, but do you guys not consider the ability or the drive to put someone else over or put the next guy over as being a great world champion?
So I definitely understand where you're coming from with that, but you have to look at the lasting legacy that Hogan did by destroying so many people and keeping the fan base here. Because let's face it, in the 80s, if it wasn't for him and that way of, some people call manipulation, some saying keeping his spot, whatever you want to call it. If it wasn't for Hogan, and we all have people that we probably think, oh, he could have been in Hogan's spot. He could have been a better Hogan. But the facts remain, it was Hogan. And again, everybody knows how much I dislike that man.
Yeah.
And it's nothing even personal as far as him as a human. I just never liked Hulk Hogan. But the thing is, I'm not gonna be a fool to sit here and knock what he's done for wrestling, where he's gotten all of us at the point we are now. So that if that was the case, who would I be to call myself a real wrestling fan and can acknowledge where people done stuff even if I don't like them. And that's just the way I look at it.
Yeah, no, and I can understand that. And I don't want to. I'm not saying that I
Yeah.
take anything away from Hogan. I certainly acknowledge that wrestling is where it is, and Hogan was a big part of that. I mean, obviously, the boom in the '80s is definitely as much a result of him as probably more so than anybody else in the wrestling industry at that time, regardless of company. But I just wanted to bring that up because I'm like, for me, some of the criteria for being the greatest world champion is being able to pass that torch effectively, honestly.
I hear what JD. I hear what
Hold-
JD is saying. JD, I hear what you're saying, and for all the many lies that Hogan has been caught in all of his interviews and his podcast appearances and all that stuff, one thing that I believe is that he genuinely and truly was willing to and wanted to turn heel for Vince McMahon. And I don't remember exactly
Even
the
brought it-
story,
even
you
brought
know,
it
that
up.
he wanted to become Hollywood Hogan for maybe it was Warrior or somebody he was supposed to put over. And Vince was like, no, nobody's going to buy a heel Hogan. And then that's whenever Hogan left. Like, I truly believe that Hogan, given the circumstances, if the money was right, if the story was right, would have turned heel in the WWF. And we might have seen a NWO in the WWF in the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah,
But
there's
they
story
did.
that where he wanted to turn heel and Vince just wasn't having it.
I
Yeah.
read them too.
So the whole thing with him not wanting to put guys over and stuff, or not putting guys over, I've never really bought into that, and I'll tell you why. Hogan would put people over when the time was right or if it made sense. Now, he didn't drop the title to just anybody, but if you look at his history of matches, he always got beat down and beat up until he got that big match at the end. Because if you think about it, he put over a lot of guys. He put over Yokozuna. He put over Bret Hart. He put over The Undertaker.
I
He
was
put
going to say,
over
who
Sergeant Slaughter.
who
You
was Earthquake before Hogan?
Yeah.
You know, I'm just
he
saying.
made a lot of guys by basically letting them beat the fire out of him. And then as the story goes, it comes down to the match, you know, the whole Hulk Hogan rhetoric finally takes over. What am I going to do, brother? I need the Hulkamaniacs. I need this. Then there's the big build for the match. And you got to figure a title was only defended when he was wrestling twice a year, 3 times a year, 4 times a year on big pay-per-views. You didn't have all these big title defenses every month. So he didn't have the opportunity also to put guys over for the belt because they only defended it at these big shows most of the time. So, like, if you look at the guys he put over as opposed to dropping the title to, that's a whole different list because he
Well,
built
and-
a lot of really big
And
heroes.
think about this. A lot of people don't recognize this. Hogan did something for someone that nobody ever gives credit to. He took a loss to
I think we lost Professor Bear.
Hogan said, "I don't want
Yeah.
We're all on
I
our.
thought he was we were waiting with like bated breath and everything.
Yeah,
he's,
yeah, we're all-
and he's over
He's
over there doing the Larry Zabisco to us.
Hogan from beyond
No,
said,
no,
"I
y'all
want
calm
you,
down.
brother.
He
You
can
ain't talking
tell
about
us.
this."
Brox, you were going to say something a second ago. Go ahead.
Brox, you're muted. You're muted, buddy.
We lost.
Y'all know how I felt.
Brox, you're still muted, buddy.
Rox, we can't hear you.
You did at all.
Yeah, still can't hear.
There you go.
I'm
There you
not
go.
muted.
Now
Good
you
boy.
are. Now
I
we
said
hear you.
I'm
There we
good.
go.
I'm good. I kept saying I'm good. I'm all right.
Still can't hear you.
All right. I guess
He-
Professor
he-
Bear
he's-
is coming back.
I hear him. I hear him. Yeah, Professor Bear.
I think Encyclopedia, the Wrestling Encyclopedia himself is the only one that hasn't picked yet. I cut him off when I wanted to bring up about the.
Yeah.
So
You're good. JD.
Lady.
I appreciate you, buddy.
Hogan and MJF. If I see Hogan in his prime going against MJF, I feel MJF's going to bounce around the ring like Shawn Michaels did in 05. But however, MJF will give Hogan a great match. MJF can also do some subtle nuances that just their thing. He had a match against Will Ospreay a couple years back at a All In, and he was acting like Lex Luger the entire match. Luger would sometimes be in the middle of a match. Everybody freeze up.
No,
And
no, that's great.
okay. Luger would be adjusting his tights mid-match or whatever. So MJF was doing that all through that match against Will Ospreay, even if he's unconscious. I gotta go. You know, I'm not a fan of Hogan. Of his, even if he put somebody over, he had to look like Superman doing it. MJF, it's not his time to be the main guy. He's going to get there. It's not tonight. The night is young, as Tucker says. MJF will get there, but as much as I'm not a fan of Hogan, you know what? My vote's for MJF. I'm not a fan of Hogan, and I'm not giving a vote for Hogan. I will give the man his flowers. He does deserve them, but I'm not giving a vote to Hogan. I gotta go with MJF.
Okay.
I love
Where's that leave
That
us,
is-
legend?
Well,
We
that
lost. It's three.
leaves-
There's only 3 of us that voted for him.
Yeah, there's 7. No, we got Brock's. Brock's voted as
I had to
well.
pee, sorry, but I vote Hogan.
Yeah. Hogan's got 4. MJF's got 3.
Hogan.
Yeah.
In the
Let
next round, we have lost Brock's Boulder to some technical issues. He probably
That's
will not
people.
be back. If he can get back in, we will let him back in. But so in that,
I can't hear J-Mac. Can anybody else?
And I say this with
Yes, I can.
I'm
Tucker,
going to
yeah, we
vote in
can
his
hear-
stead.
We can hear J-Mac. Can you
All
hear
right,
us?
sorry, let me leave.
All right.
Let me say this with all due humility. You know, hell is frozen over when Hogan hears me defending him.
Come on, Bear, change your vote. There's still time. He hasn't given the full tally yet. Jump over, Bear. You know you want to do it. You know you want. There's room over here on our side, buddy. We want you.
I want to, but
Alrighty. So the next match is, of course, going to be Ric Flair, which I think this would be a great match if they actually met up. I definitely, it gives me, like, I get, again, like somebody touched on earlier, I don't remember exactly who it was because we talked about so much, but somebody touched on the understanding of why the comparisons of AJ Styles and Shawn Michaels come around. And I think it's that high flying status, but being able to also wrestle anybody, at any point in time. It was, I don't know how to describe it. It's not that he was, why is this not removing this from the studio? Give me just a second, sir. Guys, there are technical issues. There you go. Okay, he's breaking
I'm
stuff,
back.
guys. He's breaking things. But I think the comparison is just the fact that they were so good all around and could wrestle anybody on any night and everything. And I think that's why they get compared. And that's why I think that if you took these two people in their prime, it would be no doubt in my mind a 5-star match. And we are talking about Ric Flair and AJ Styles. And I guess we are going to flip the order a little bit here since things flipped around. Tucker's gone again. Who knows when he'll be back. Zodiac, we're going to start with you, sir. And Ric Flair versus AJ Styles.
That's a hard one. That's a hard one right there. you have a contrast of styles that complement each other, which is like,
right.
That's a tough one. You've got, and it depends on what AJ Styles you're talking about too, I guess. But for the most part, you've got that clean cut, high flying technician versus the dirty veteran, pretty much. That's a tough one. If we're talking about best world champions still, man, that's still a tough one because in their own right, they've done like crazy good stuff. And I'm a big Ric Flair fan. I'm a fan of both of them. I think the main thing that'll sway me though is AJ's work in Japan because I'm big on that and the international stuff. So, the old school soul in me wants to say Flair, but I'm going to lean more towards AJ. As surprising as it might be. And the only reason I say that is because, like, Flair's been, like, you know, the 16-time world champ and everything else, but it's been pretty much, like, the same world championship. Whereas AJ's been more international all over the place.
Yeah.
So, his versatility, I think, for me, and that kind of edges it out. And the old soul in me kind of even hurts to say that, but if I have to really break it down, I got to go with AJ. I might be the dark horse in that one too that doesn't, but I'm going to go with AJ.
All right, Uncle Slam, who you got?
This was a little bit harder than I thought because I thought it'd be. I honestly thought it'd be kind of a clean sweep when it came to it, especially when it came to Flair. I think they're kind of a clash in styles or whatever. I think AJ is, of course, more high flyer. I feel like AJ can do a lot more than Flair as far as, you know, the high flying, the mat wrestling. But like when it's all said and done, when it comes down to it, he's the dirtiest player in the game for a reason. And I believe no matter what AJ did, Flair's dirty tricks, Flair's intelligence is going to come out and he would beat him. Like whether it's with the Four Horsemen, whether it's, you know, him just, you know, being just Ric Flair, I just don't see him getting past Ric Flair as far as the greatest world championship. And I both, you know, and I give AJ a lot of credit because he did. I mean, like every place he went, he was a star. But I almost feel like Ric Flair was that same way too, you know, especially in the territory days because he did take the belt a lot of places. He did go to other places. You know, he might not have been as big as like international as AJ Styles was, but I still believe when it comes down to it, Rick's going to win.
So we got a 1-1 here. Professor Bear, show them how it's done.
So I was blessed to be starting in the first position, so I could always have my thoughts out and get to listen to everybody else's point. Now that I'm in the middle, it's actually kind of poetic because as much as I understand both points of view of why you took AJ and why you think AJ is more known internationally, the fact remains that Flair was the last great traveling champion in a foregone era. That Flair could go anywhere, and everybody knew who Ric Flair was. It didn't have to be, hey, you have to be here for a while to make your name. People knew the jet flying, all that good stuff with the Nature Boy. And I'm going to give y'all another comparison that we were talking about styles and how styles make great matches. And I said this of people calling AJ the Shawn Michaels. But if you really look at it and think about it, AJ was the new Sting to Ric Flair. He could do high flying spots. He could, again, AJ could actually do mat wrestling. AJ, and it's been said before, AJ adjusted his style to whoever he wrestles. Well, AJ wouldn't have to with Flair because Flair adjusted his style to whoever he wrestled. And this would be a rare moment for AJ just to be AJ. And as much as I respect AJ, I love what he did over Japan. It does not compare to Ric Flair. If you, I would bet money today if we were able to go over to Japan and said the name AJ Styles, Ric Flair, I would guarantee you more people would know Ric Flair than Bullet Club AJ. And as crazy as it sounds, I'm almost guaranteeing it because you have one of the most known wrestlers, personality. He transcends way beyond wrestling. He is 80-something years old and goes to a bar and don't have to buy a damn thing because everybody knows him. And if you don't know him, you're damn sure know him by the end of the night. It's the Nature Boy.
All right, you going Nature Boy?
Who's you again, Bear?
Nature Boy.
Oh, Nature Boy. Okay. So we have two Nature Boys, one AJ, bad guy JD. Who you got?
Yeah, I think AJ Styles is a great wrestler, and he's done a lot of stuff, and he's a self-made guy through the indies. You know, he didn't have that company money behind him, absolutely. But my question is to the panel would also be, who do you think calls that match between Ric Flair and AJ Styles in the ring? You think Ric Flair's taking cues from AJ Styles?
Oh, hell no.
Ric Flair ain't taking cues from AJ Styles. AJ Styles is taking the cues and taking the orders from the Nature Boy Ric Flair. Ric Flair's the ring general. Ric Flair's a multi-time world champion. And even if you put them both in their prime, Ric Flair can wrestle laps around AJ Styles. I'm sorry, it's just the way it is. AJ Styles is a great wrestler, but he's not at the level of the caliber of Ric Flair and that kind of ring generalship. Maybe now towards the end of his career, but Ric Flair was just he'd be calling the match. If those two wrestled, he'd be the one calling the action in the ring, not AJ Styles. So I'm gonna have to go with the Nature Boy, Ric Flair.
It's 3 Flair, 1 AJ.
We got a Nature Boy. I know it, man. It's getting crazy in here. We still lost Tucker, didn't we? We never got him back.
Yeah.
Brock's just messaged me and he proxied his vote. He said proxy his vote. He knows it's going to come down between Hogan and Flair. So, I'll vote in his stead. So
I will say that if we would have voted MJF over Hogan, I'd be more inclined to vote AJ Styles over Ric Flair, just because the matchup between MJF and AJ Styles would make more sense. But I don't know. Once you got Hogan in, how do you not have the other side of the brackets be Flair?
That's true.
Right. I mean, the classic, All righty. Well, we know it's going to be Ric Flair now, so we are down to the actual finals.
Still haven't given my vote.
The Wrestling Encyclopedia needs to go.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Oh.
I'm sorry. There's a lot going on. I'm proxying votes. People are getting kicked out and going places, and I don't know.
Welcome to hosting a big show, brother.
Welcome to the real
Flair.
Too much controversy going on.
That's why we call it the Havoc Zone, guys. It's just the way it is.
Flair's the ring general for a reason. It's because he has earned it. He was trained by the great Vern Gagne. Vern Gagne trained him. He went to the AWA training camp. Quit a couple times, but ended up finishing it. Went in, became one of the greatest. You know, Flair came from a time where you learned on the road. You know, you wrestled 7 days a week, 9 times at the most. You know, Monday through Friday, twice on Saturday, twice on Sunday. If you got a day off, it was very rare. Flair, AJ hasn't had that type of career. Now, AJ, like I said, there is something special. You can pinpoint what it is. He has it, much like MJF does.
Yeah.
I am going to give my vote to the nature. You know, I don't like the way he acts now, the way he's been saying. He sometimes needs to just get up, you know, stay off social media and just shut it for once in a while. Absolutely. But I think that's why he does a lot of what he does is because he's trying to do a thing. You know, when he had his actual last match in 2022, I may or may not have somebody may have been cutting onions in the house near me or something. I may have geez.
A skunk outside sprayed somebody or something, man.
Yeah, I'm going to give my vote to Nature Boy Ric Flair.
Alrighty. Well,
and
I mean,
before we go to the finals, let me. Okay, I'm done.
I'm done. Well, I have proxied the vote of Brox Boulder, and it's obviously going to be Flair since he said it's going to be Flair and Hogan, so we know where his votes were going on that.
Yeah. Much like when we did the Intercontinental title run here a while back, J-Mac, we had to do some changes because we weren't going to pick Brett and Shawn, but unfortunately...
See, guys, I'm telling you, it was a tainted tournament. We need to revisit it. It was tainted. They purposely didn't vote for people just because. I demand a recount.
Oh, God.
I'm telling you, Bret Hart is not the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time.
Yes.
Lies. Yes, he is.
Bill Goldberg. But anyways. No, I just know that. I know he was never Intercontinental Champion. It's just the name that haunts him. All right, so we got Hogan and we got Flair in the finals. Before we start voting, guys, is this? I want to go around real quick before we. I don't want to keep y'all too long, but is this the actual greatest rivalry of all time? Just a quick yes or no.
Yes.
Zodiac.
Greatest of all time. I don't know, but it's definitely up there.
Uncle Slam.
Yes, I think that this as far as the two biggest stars in wrestling, I say that this is a pretty good group right here. Like I said, I mean, there's only a couple other people that I might swing in here, but I don't have a problem with this list at all. Like I said, as far as these last two.
What about the Hogan Flair rivalry? Is that the greatest rivalry of all time?
Maybe not greatest rivalry, because I see other ones as being bigger. Vince and Stone Cold, Bret and Shawn. I think it's a big rivalry, but I wouldn't say the greatest because I have other ones I would put in there.
Okay. Professor Bear. I'm about to call you Uncle Bear again. I caught myself.
Baby, how can you say the greatest rivalry and not mention the one, the only, Dusty Rhodes, baby? The American has to be a part of the greatest rivalry, baby. So my answer is an astounding no, baby.
CD.
Yeah, I'm going to also say no because they never really, in WCW was the only time they actually even really ever feuded, and it wasn't even very good in WCW when they feuded. Neither one of them wanted to work with the other. I don't blame either one for that. But no, there's other rivalries that I enjoy and would watch more than Sting or more than Flair and Hogan. But in terms of the finals for this bracket, I do think I think it's a good finals for this bracket that you've put together. So yeah, I do think it's a great bracket final, but no, not the best rivalry.
And Wrestling Encyclopedia, Mr. Sean John.
It is not, in my opinion, one of the greatest rivalries. Now, is it one of their each? It's one of Hogan's greatest rivalries. It's one of Flair's, but it is not the greatest rivalry of all time.
I 100% agree. I think it's top 5 in both their individual rivalries, and I think that's because it was just so short. As far as like overall greatest rivalries of all time, no. I think as far as Flair goes, that's Dusty Rhodes. And I would argue Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart is one of the top 5 greatest rivalries of all time. It just happened to happen in one of the down times of the business, unfortunately. But yeah.
Before you go on, I gotta say something to Uncle Slam before we get going. Hey, Uncle, I was, I kind of like my coffee a little bitter, and somebody asked me how bitter. I said Bret Hart.
Oh God, y'all just got to pick on low-hanging fruit, don't you? Just low-hanging fruit.
I know exactly who it was that told you that. Bill Goldberg.
Not just Goldberg. You have to say Bill Goldberg.
Bill Goldberg.
Wait a minute. I thought this was a show about the greatest world champion of all time. Why is Goldberg's name even being mentioned?
This is true too. Well, Chad Casey would beg to differ with you on that.
Well,
but
he ain't on this show. He ain't on this show, is
right?
he?
All right, guys.
We're gonna talk when you come back on Mayhem again. Trust me.
We are going to finish this out, guys. I want to tell you all I appreciate you all coming and helping us finish this out. I know it's a long night. That's the only bad thing about these shows, but they're great. I love doing them. I love talking to you all. I know it. Zodiac, we're going to start with you. Flair, Hogan, who you got? Greatest champion of all time, sir. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Come on, we're friends now. We're friends now. Don't ruin the friendship, buddy.
That is a tough one. Hey, if you ain't making enemies, you ain't doing something right. That is a tough one. If I'm talking wrestling champion, like putting in the work, wrestling champion, building people and whatnot, and that was a tough one because they've both got their credentials in good and bad. I'm gonna go with Flair though.
All right, we can stay friends.
I think I'm gonna go with Flair. It's not by a lot because like I might not like Hogan on a personal level on some stuff, but like I can't discount his work and the people he's built and everything else and stuff he's done. And if it wasn't for Hogan, I really don't think wrestling would be where it's at. But at the same time, I think I could say the same thing for Flair too.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for those two guys, like if it wasn't for Flair, WCW and Turner Promotions wouldn't be on the map. If it wasn't for Hogan, WWF wouldn't be on the map. And people can go, well, they could have put anybody in those places. Bullshit.
Yeah.
I've heard that before about Hogan. Well, and they could have put anybody in that gimmick. Bullshit. But if I want to say as far as the greatest champion, I got to go with Flair.
All righty, that's one for Flair. Uncle Slam, final vote.
This is really hard because I've honestly been thinking about this for the last 10 minutes. Like before we even came to this, I kind of
figured it would come down to these two.
Yeah. I kind of figured. So I've been trying to make cases for each, and it's really so hard because when you think about it, they're both got the championship pedigree. They both are, are pop icons. I agree with both what everybody says as far if there wasn't any Hogan, there might not be no wrestling. At the same time, if there wasn't Ric Flair, there might not be no wrestling. The only reason I'm going to choose Flair, and the reason is because I believe he's more of a wrestler. I believe when it comes down to it, not that Hogan can't wrestle, but like this is the greatest wrestling champ, and I think a lot of the other stuff kind of like cancels like each other out. But I think when it comes to just wrestling, I think Flair is more of a wrestler because if you say in promos, I think they're both equal. If you're talking about belts or you're talking about great matches, I think all that cancels each other out. But I said, as far as wrestling, pure wrestling, I have to give it to Flair.
Brand new. We got 2 for Flair. That's dangerous. Let's see who we going with, Professor Bear.
We got 1A and 1B, and it's very simple. When you mention wrestling, there's a difference, and when you mention sports entertainment, there's a difference. Ric Flair all day, every day, and twice on Sunday because he's a 60-minute man, baby.
It's my inspiration.
Oh, you missed it a couple of weeks ago, Zodi, man. We had the Dusty Idol going on the NWA bracket. It was great. We had Dusty Idol all day long.
I couldn't do that one.
Oh, it was great. It was hilarious. Bobby Blade, Professor Bear, and a buddy of ours from Texas wrestles under the name Warhammer. But yeah, it was great. It was funny. Everybody was reaching their hand out and touching it. But all righty, who you got, JD?
Well, Professor Bear, sometime on our next episode, I'll show you. I'll give you my Dusty impersonation as well. So I think I do a pretty good one. I think the final 4 of this tournament bracket, and I think that's what's great, Uncle Slam and J-Mac, and I just want to shout out you two for a moment on this, because this idea that you've had to do these shows to crown the greatest whatever tag team, intercontinental, world champions, and the way you have the brackets and the voting system set up and the guests that you get to come on, I think all of them have always are very, very close to being right on in a general sense. I think if you look at the final 4 of this bracket, you couldn't have asked for a better final 4 of this bracket. And I think if you took the other 2 and you put AJ Styles against MJF, I think you have just the same kind of discussion that you're having with Flair and Hogan. So I think you guys did a great job putting this bracket together, this multi-company bracket together, and bringing it to a conclusion tonight. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you.
Now for the finals, I mean, Flair and Hogan, I don't need to go on and on about this. You guys pretty much know my position. I'm still not casting a vote for Hogan. I think in my opinion, and I understand some of you guys have said that he did put other people over, and there are examples of that, but there's plenty of examples of him not doing that, and at least not putting someone over cleanly. Whether it was his decision or an front office decision, he's in a lot of those matches where he loses, but never cleanly. And it happened when he started going to WCW. I believe him and Bischoff had some thing going on, and that's why, Bischoff was pretty much in his pocket. So I don't even put it all on Hogan, but the fact is that he didn't. There are plenty of examples where he did not put people over in the way that he should have as the champion, or having the spot he did. On the other hand, we've been saying it all night, how Flair can make you look amazing even when you lose. That even he'll wrestle you for 60 minutes, and the opponent will control 59 minutes of that match, making him look so good. And then all it takes is Ric Flair doing an illegal move. He slaps the figure 4 on you, you tap out, but you don't lose any face. Hogan can't do that. I'm sorry. He just can't. He can't make people look as good as Rick can. So I think it's not a contest in this. I think it's Ric Flair all day.
Well, I mean, barring that, Ric Flair has already won, but we're going to hear what the Wrestling Encyclopedia has to say.
Well, yeah, Hogan, political move. He tried in the dying days of WCW to put Billy Kidman over, but, you can't polish a turd.
Well, you can, but you just get your hands dirty.
Right.
So Flair, though, he could put anybody over, matches with anybody.
He's over here saying Billy Kidman, and I'm putting Billy Kidman's name on the tournament here. Go ahead, Sean. Sorry.
Hogan, Hogan was things like you said. You see one Hogan match, you see them all. He sells for 90% of the match. He kicks out of the main guy's finish, 3 punches, big boot, leg drop. Go to the pay window. Flair, not every match ended the same. Not every match ended in that figure 4. There were times, Flair, every match would try to go to the top rope, and he'd always get caught. I've counted since I've been a wrestling fan in '93. I may have counted like 5 times where he's gone to the top rope and actually connected with his opponent.
Sean,
That
I
included
wanna-
his Shawn Michaels.
Sean, I want to say that the feud, I've seen a few of them too. Ric Flair coming off the top rope. Now, in my opinion, when Ric Flair actually does come off the top rope and hit somebody, it's because somebody forgot he was going to the top and threw him off. Because he has got the worst double axe handle or single axe handle smash that I've ever seen in the business.
Yeah.
That horrible crossbody he would hit.
I would say this. It wasn't that they forgot, that it just surprised the hell out of them, because most of the commentary team like, oh shit, yeah, oh damn, we got to put this over.
Yeah, that's what it is. So I'm giving my vote not because everybody else is. Ric Flair, 16 times, he's held the 2 greatest, beautifulest looking titles, the big gold, even with the bend in the top. We've heard plenty of stories about how that actually happened. The NWA Dome Globe, I equate that to Ric Flair because he was the last man really to hold it.
My favorite belt.
That's a beautiful belt.
Yes, mine as well. So I'm giving my vote to Ric Flair.
All right. Well, I'm going to read Brock's statement before we get out of here. We all know Ric Flair. He said, proxy my vote in the championship. I know it's going to be Hogan and Flair. My vote is Stone Cold. He said my vote is Stone Cold comes in, stuns them both, clashes a few beers together. He's the GOAT.
Yes.
You got to write
Stone Cold the referee.
We're gonna have to do a greatest Texas champion or whatever.
Yeah,
Hey,
there's
man.
plenty of these greatest titles you could do. You can do so many of these. It's great. But guys,
Yeah.
As soon as he got done stunning, drinking his beer, he turned back around. Ric Flair would stab him in his eyes and
low blow.
break him down and put him in the figure 4.
Yeah, he'd low blow.
Low blow,
As soon as he
tight, put feet on the ropes.
As soon as he clashed those beers together, it'd be clash and then boom, low blow. He dropped the beers onto the floor from the turnbuckle and then
Yep.
Guys, I so much appreciate you all coming here. I appreciate everybody who has participated in this. It's been a blast getting to sit and just talk to you all about wrestling. I can't say thank you enough. It's been very tiresome because somebody, I don't know who, we're not going to name names and point fingers and stuff like that because we don't do that here. But somebody double booked us for every one of these shows. And
Who
you
would
see
do
how
that?
long these things run. It was terrible. But no, we do. We appreciate everybody taking the time out to help us and do this. And you're more welcome again, always to come back. We're going to do more titles,
Right,
or,
fellas.
tournaments and stuff like that. So, yeah, before we get out of here, everybody plug something real quick. Zodiac, go ahead and do your thing.
Next show I got coming up is August 22nd, Super Bowl of Wrestling for Appalachian Mountain Wrestling at the Corbin Civic Center up there in Corbin, Kentucky. Big show. There's going to be a lot of people on the vendor list. Everybody from Teddy Long to Sue Young to you name it. Big main event's going to be FTR versus the Good Brothers. We got a triple threat match. It's Lord Murphy Costigan, Marty Clay, and Wes Barker, Prospector Wes. I'm in a big 5 or 6 man scramble kind of match, which it's me, Marcus Johnson, Elliot Russell, a couple other people, and then what's dude's name? Oh shoot, there's a mystery guy. I don't know who that is. Oh man, what is that dude's name? I hate to say this because people remember, but the guy that injured Biggie.
Ridge Holland.
Ridge Holland. He's in the match. They're not calling him that now. It's like something Menzies or something, but he's in the match. Whole slew of people at this thing. So feel free to check that out. And then I don't know what I got after that. And then we got, of course, more stuff with the shop coming. So
awesome. Yeah. Hey, you need some wrestling gear? I know 2 people I can send you to. So if one don't have it, the other one will, and I'm sure either one of them can get it because they're both great people. One of them's that man right there. But yeah, go check out Appalachian Mountain Wrestling too. We checked them out this past summer. Put on a great show. It was absolutely awesome. It was actually my first time getting to see you wrestle, Zodiac. Awesome. And it was y'all did great. Like I said, it was top notch, man. For your money. You know, it was worth every. You can't beat independent wrestling in the atmosphere. I'm sorry, just my opinion. Professor Bear, plug something. Tell us what it's about.
Speaking of independent wrestling, WSN will be launching our wrestling app on September the 11th. We will be spotlighting independent wrestling from all around the world. We have promotions right now signed from Germany. We just signed one from Finland 2 days ago. We have a few from Canada. We are talking with some Japan, some Australian. We're just trying to let people understand that wrestling is not just black and white. It's so many different colors, so many different styles, and it's going to be not just wrestling, but a wrestling experience. We got mini games, we have documentaries, we have podcasts. We are trying to give the independent spotlights to companies that don't have the financial funds to get out there like your WWE and AEW. So please check us out when we launch. We're going to be on Roku. We're going to be on Google TV. We're going to be on Amazon. We're going to have a mobile app. We're going to be on our website, the WSNPLUS.TV. So check us out and please enjoy and support local independent wrestling. And thank you for supporting everyone on this show and continue doing that. Thank y'all so very much.
That's awesome.
Who's next? JD, do you think, man?
Well, let me just extend an invitation to Sean Johns, Professor Bear, and Zodiac. All 3 of you guys have an invitation to come on to Mayhem Media anytime you want. Of course, we always talk about other things besides wrestling. That's how Mayhem Media fits into this great community that's being built. Is anytime they want to break from talking about wrestling. Not that talking about wrestling isn't great, but everybody needs a break from it once in a while, and that's what we offer. So that's what Mayhem Media is. Come over to Mayhem Media and check us out. Next week, we're continuing our Marvel Cinematic Universe series with Infinity War. And of course, we're covering AEW now, the pay-per-views. We do prediction shows, and then we'll do recap shows for the AEW pay-per-views. And football season's just around the corner. And if you want to do some live watch-alongs, or if you can't watch a game, make sure you check us out because we might be doing a watch along with it. And that's how I encourage people to do our watch alongs. If you can't watch the game, tune into us and we can call the action for you, much like a radio station or like a radio broadcast. So we're going to be doing that for football season in the NFL. And of course, October's coming up. We do a whole month long Halloween series. We do one episode every single week during the month of October to talk about various Halloween movies. One of them is usually a spoof movie. We always talk about a franchise, and then there's we throw a couple other fun episodes in there as well. So we got a lot of stuff coming up from Mayhem Media all the way until Christmas. So stay tuned. We're going to have fresh content all the way up until Christmas.
Yes. Did we lose Professor Bear?
It looks like we did.
I think we did.
Oh man.
I hate that. All right. Well, yeah.
Sean
John, do you think, man? Tell everybody where to find you.
Next show I'm going to be at is going to be Kentucky Wrestling Federation, September 6th at the Monte Carlo Event Center. Yours truly, myself, the Wrestling Encyclopedia, the self-proclaimed voice of the Kentucky Wrestling Federation, will be ring announcing that night. I am also a part-time wrestler for them. I've been in 2 matches thus far. Both of them have been over-the-top battle royals. Zodi was our inaugural KWF champion.
Yeah, I haven't been able to defend or do much because I haven't been able to make the shows because of the dates, and then they took some time off, and the time they took off, I didn't know when they were coming back, so I filled up dates and everything else. So it's
We'll get you back in there, boss. And I just want to say this out loud. Brody, you have given me lots of advice when I was beginning my career ring announcing. So in front of everybody, I do want to personally thank you. I have thanked you personally to your face, but I want to do this publicly to thank you for the advice you've given.
I want everybody
Oh, yes, sir. So, KWF, get out, like Professor Bear said, get out, support independent talent, not just wrestling, independent artists, music artists, independent, anything out in your local area. Get out, support him, support the underground, as they say. We all start somewhere. So if you support them now, you can actually say when they hit it big, hey, I knew them when.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like I knew them before Abyss. This is going to be out there. Zodi, you already know. Abyss, we knew Abyss before he became Abyss. We knew Carl Anderson before he was Carl. Now, I only knew him as a fan behind the barricade, on one side of the barricade. Zodi, you knew him from the locker room as an equal. I just knew him as a fan. So,
who?
Abyss. That's who he's talking about.
Oh, he was one of my trainers when I started.
Oh, really? Carl and...
Yeah, he was one of my trainers when I started and stuff. He was one of the main trainers and stuff at Northern Wrestling Federation.
Yeah.
And that when I started there.
Oh, Rob.
I forget that I know. I always forget that I know the area that Zodi lives in because I used to live up there too myself, around the Covington area.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, I appreciate everybody being here. Like I said, I can't thank you all enough. Before we get out of here, I do want to shout out before it flips to the next day. Bobby Blade, this is his 35th WrestleVersary. He started wrestling 35 years ago today, his first match and everything. So happy WrestleVersary to Bobby Blade, man. We love him here on the show. He helped us with the show. But yeah, guys. Uncle Slam, you got anything for any of these gentlemen?
No, sir. I'm tapped out. This has been a long show for tonight.
It has, but it's been very good. And like I said, I can't thank you all enough. You're more than welcome. Open invitations all around. Uncle Slam's tapped out. Referees hit that 3 count. We're going to ring that damn bell.